And then now I'm trying to step my game up a
This
little
shit's
bit.
fire. As soon as I walked up, I was like, let's fucking go.
Okay. Khaleel Pearson, we were just talking about this most recent camp. It's April 13th, the day of UFC 300.
Yeah.
1 week away from 420, fittingly enough, is your next fight. But I want to start way before that with your life story, your birth. When and where were you born?
I was born in Brooklyn, New York City, 1989. I don't know why I can't think of the fucking hospital right now.
What part of Brooklyn?
I think we grew up in Brownsville.
Okay.
I only lived there for a period of time. It was me, my mom, my two older sisters. My mom and my dad, I don't think were like officially like living together. We were living in my grandmother's house in Brooklyn, and it was like maybe 2 or 3 of my mom's other siblings, and then their kids.
All in the same house?
Yeah, all in the same like 1-bedroom apartment. So back in the day. So that went on till maybe I was around 3 years old, and then I remember, it's kind of sad the way to start this fucking story, but I remember my grandmother died like in front of me when I was 3.
Shit. You remember this?
Yeah, I remember it because me and my grandma were really close and shit. So she like had a heart attack in front of me, right? So that changed everything kind of for the family. Like all the siblings, my mom and her siblings, like kind of had to figure out what the fuck to do, right? So we ended up moving to the Bronx. My mom got like a small apartment for me and my 2 sisters. My dad was living in New Jersey, and they were figuring stuff out. Like my dad was still there, but he didn't really take on that role until maybe a year after we lived in the Bronx, where like back in the day, I mean, we're older, man. We knew times were just different back then. Shit, where people got harassed in the street, like the gang stuff was crazy. Like that whole atmosphere was real. So one of my sisters is 10 years older than me, and the other one is 8 years older than me. And we have different fathers, so their fathers weren't around. My second sister's father passed away, so my mom was really just alone, and my dad was just starting to step up. And like my sisters would have people like follow them home, like our little area. It wasn't the worst area, but yeah, like they would just get harassed and shit. And
so this is like your toddler, early elementary school. So your sisters are like teenagers.
Yeah, so I'm 3 years old, and one is 13 and one is 11. So they're like right at that age,
Damn.
And
they're getting harassed at that age?
Hell yeah, man. Especially back in the day too, like and then I'll never forget too, like I feel like I have such a subjective memory where I remember so many things from my past and things that I experienced. So I'll never forget, there was one day I'm on the bus, right? And I'm coming back to this crib in the Bronx, and my bus driver, like, he like says some shit like he has to make a detour or some shit, right? And it's like 3 of us left in the bus, right? And he ends up like, I don't even remember what we ended up doing. I just remember getting back to my mom's place and her being mad worried like 4 hours later. Like I didn't get fucking like harassed, but he was just like, he just took us on a ride that we weren't supposed to go on. And I remember my dad being like, oh hell no, like fuck that. My dad, he was a systems programmer. He worked in New York City. He, had a good job, always did good shit. So he talked to my mom, was like, yeah, we're gonna move you away from the Bronx, get you out to New Jersey where he was living, and figure it out. Because we would always go there and visit beforehand, but we weren't living together. So he decided to move us to a town called Piscataway, New Jersey, central New Jersey. And this is kind of where the story starts. My parents get together.
Everybody, your sisters as well?
Yup, we're all together. We kind of like, it was popular. People from New York City moved to New Jersey, even if you work. So, he was, traveling back and forth to New York City, trying to help my mom in her career. She worked at, I think, a juvenile detention center.
Shit.
In Newark.
Whoa.
So she worked with kids forever. Like that was like kind of her career. So my dad worked in computers. She worked with kids, and so we're starting this family, right? So public school. I remember my dad was just always my dad's older than my mom by 11 years. He had me when he was, I think, like 43.
Whoa.
Yeah, so he had already lived a lot of life, and he was still, doing his thing, but I feel like I had such a great opportunity to have someone pour a lot into me and not be so much worried about their self because he was already established in what he was doing. So I was, he poured everything in me. I did every sport. I was like doing 5-6 sports when I was 4 or 5 years old: swimming, basketball, baseball, music, fucking golf, like everything. And then public school was cool. I remember I used to get like taken out of classes for like the enrichment programs. Remember that weird stuff? You had to take weird tests. They make you fucking grow chickens from eggs and do weird stuff, right? That's badass. Yeah, it was so weird. Piscataway was a good town.
Yeah,
now a good football team. So it was like a melting pot where you just had all these different races coming into this area, suburb. So it was fun, I loved, the public school, doing the sports. And I remember I got to a point where my dad was like, all right, you're doing too much. You have to pick three things that you want to do, and you're going to stick to it. But piano has to be one of them. So I'm like, so you get to pick two. So I'm like, all right, bro. So I feel like I picked basketball, and my dad's like that, but he's awesome.
You get to pick 3 things.
Yeah, but piano's one of them. That, basketball, and I think it was like swimming at the time or something like that. So that was cool. I kind of got to focus in. So my dad kind of took over, and the piano became super important, Piano became important, schoolwork. I was getting straight A's in school.
Around what age is this?
I was around 6.
Oh, shit.
That's
okay. Early.
like first grade. Right?
Yeah, first grade, yeah.
Ish. So, so I just remember playing, doing well, school and music for a few years. Not really getting into trouble and shit. Trying to be popular, but not really popular. So a few years go by, and we all hit that age where we kind of want to be popular, like where even if you're doing straight A's and shit, you get that one test back and you're like what's going on or whatever. I liked piano when I was like 5 or 6, but the way my dad like started to make me play, it became like terrible, like dictator. Like I would have to spend a certain amount of hours playing. I couldn't go outside and like just chill with my friends. He'd be like, get on the piano, sit there for an hour, and then sometimes he would be around. So like, I don't know, years go by and I started like kind of rebel a little bit. Like I just wanted to like be a little freer. So I don't want to say I started messing up in school, but I wasn't as focused, right? So they were like, all right, we're gonna nip that shit in the bud. So around 6th grade or 7th grade, I ended up transferring to a school called Rutgers Prep. It was a few towns over, a better school. It was cool. I was doing well in school. They just wanted to make sure I was like staying on path and not fucking around or whatever. So Rutgers Prep was cool. I went there. I started to excel in basketball as well. So I was still doing music. I was playing piano, but I couldn't play piano for the school. So I was playing other instruments, but still doing well. Music was like my thing for sure. Playing piano on the side. I remember I joined New Jersey Jazz Institute. My dad would always, like I said, he would pour a lot into me. So he would always find little programs for me outside of whatever I was doing. So I played for the New Jersey Jazz Institute. I was this little fucking short, chubby, fat kid with a big head with all these other like older teenage musicians, and I would just be there. I fucking hated to be there. Shit, bad posture, like hated it. But I was there, experiencing all these weird things. And back then I was like so introverted. Like I didn't know how to handle everything that was going on. So taking on experiences, but still being kind of a weirdo. So I remember Rutgers Prep was cool. 8th grade, I remember making friends, and towards the end of my 8th grade year, I remember getting in trouble for something, right? Like, it was me, funny story, right? At the end of the day, I feel like I'm a stand-up comedy. I'm always trying to practice my comedy, so here we go. So there's a black guy, me, an Asian guy, and a white guy. We walk into our art studio, right? We walk into our art studio, and Rutgers Prep was dope. Like those private schools, they kind of set you up for college, like, and we used to have to, change buildings and do all that stuff. So try to treat us like we were older,
right?
So I remember we like went across campus, art studio, right? We see like a piece of art, and it was so stupid. Like art's so subjective. Like I remember it being like Ninja Turtles or something like on this painting, right? We're fucking 8th grade, right? So we all like take a little piece off this thing of art, right? It's so random. But we end up getting in trouble for it, right? And I remember they take us all in, right? Like Asian kid, white kid. Bring us all in. asked us what we did, you know, we're like, oh yeah, you know, we're sorry. Like, it wasn't a big deal.
Right.
Like, it was this Picasso's piece? Like, it was a Ninja Turtle, like, you know, and who gets in trouble? Who gets in trouble out of the group? Not even just one. Me and the Asian kid got in trouble.
The Asian kid got in trouble?
Yeah. I remember there was like an 8th grade trip coming up after. Like,
they had the wrong guy.
We were going on this dope trip, right? And they're like, you can't go, Khalil. Josh, you can't go. But Mario, you can still go. And the whole
Mario.
It was white Mario, yeah.
Italian
Mario. He was the man too, so I can't be mad at it.
His name was Mario.
I feel like it was his idea at the end of the day too. That's how it always works too. They were like, all right, you guys can't go on this trip. And I remember that like kind of like rubbing like my family the wrong way, rubbing me the wrong way. And then also too, sports and music, right? My dad was always looking to get into the next step. So I got better at basketball, and Andrew Bynum went to St. Joseph's in New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
This was maybe 05 to 07-ish, right? And St. Joe's became big, all boys school. Academics were good. They were sending people to good schools. They thought it would be a good distraction because also 7th, 8th grade, I started getting the O's. You feel me? Like, puberty came. I remember I got braces on. I remember I just kind of started finding myself. Like I was saying earlier, like we all worried about being popular, finding ourselves, like what it was. And I felt like because I played music at that time, I was a piano guy, I did good in school. Like that wasn't like the thing back in the day. Like to be answering questions and shit. Like that wasn't like how you got the girls. But so they were like, all right, we're gonna limit distractions. Like for real, like it was like you would, but like that wasn't like the cool thing, you know, like to be like the smart guy, like to get the questions right, answers, like to get the answers right and shit. Like, oh, you got a good grade, like it's like I'm sorry, I don't know.
Even did you not notice a difference in that culture from public school to Rutgers Prep, and then was it the same?
Nah, Rutgers Prep was dope. We were all trying to like do better, and I feel like everybody was competing, and that was the first time I really saw a glimpse of like how you guys can be so different and have different opinions. Like I said, melting pot, Central Jersey. Like you could have different opinions from people and beliefs, but like at the end of the day, you guys can be so close. Like, other things can bring you guys together. So we would like do things in class, and we'd all be trying to be right and like do things and share our opinions. And at the end, we just still be cool with being different. And I thought that was really awesome. And like I said, I was very quiet, so that kind of helped me find my voice and be okay with answering questions and like coming into myself, opposed to public school where it's like, nigga, you got a good grade. How you get an A? And you're like, I'm sorry, like my parents are gonna fuck me up.
My bad.
And then at the end of the day too, right? My dad, he was the type where I always talk about this today, where you got to give people incentives, like, and everybody's incentives are different. But with kids too, like, you got to find out what kids really like and things that are positive, and like give them that to help them do great things. Like it's just simple. They're minds. So my dad always would, you know, give me awesome incentives. Like, yo, you get straight A's, whatever you want. And I take that shit to heart. So I just remember just being addicted. Like I just want, fuck whatever competing. Like I just want to get whatever I want at the end of this fucking quarter. So that was big for me. So St. Joe's, I was doing really well in school. Basketball became even more important. A few guys from St. Joe's went to...
This is high school now?
Yeah, this is high school. Going from 8th grade to high school, 9th grade. So some guys went from Rutgers Prep to St. Joe's because they wanted to play basketball too. Mario actually went from... My boy, Italian, he actually left Rutgers Prep and went to St. Joe's too. I guess that situation rubbed him wrong too. So that was awesome. So St. Joe's was cool. Andrew Bynum was there. I just remember competing, getting really good grades still getting straight A's. Basketball became really important. Music elevated. My dad still looking for more programs. Like what other programs are doing? Like piano's so important. He's still drilling me every single day after school to play for an hour. I got better at like not doing it, but telling him I was doing it. But yeah.
So
he was
had you kind of lost had you kind of like pounded the joy out of the piano?
Yeah, for sure.
That point?
It was lost. I wanted to go hang out with my friends and like fuck around. And
what was the obsession with the piano? Was it a musician?
Well, my grandfather was a musician. He always played piano. Like whenever I'd visit, he'd be playing chords. And my dad was a good musician too. But it was just one of those things. Like you want to have something outside of sports and your academics and shit and it becomes so important later in the story too. Okay. So, basketball's cool. I find this other music performance thing, New Jersey Performing Arts Center. It's in Newark, New Jersey. They have a kids program for musicians to excel, like the best in the state come. So I started doing that. It's like school on Saturdays. So I would do St. Joe's, have basketball practice all week, then Saturdays basically have like music school all fucking day. So it became a lot. And like I said, my dad would push me because it's like, you do this, you're going to be rewarded. So I fucking would kill. Even if I wasn't as prepared as I could have been, I still made sure when it was time to show up, I always showed up. Good grades. Sports, I started excelling, doing well. Trying to see. I remember the girl thing became crazy. We were at an all-boys school, so we were able to stay not as distracted, but St. Joe's had like the biggest dances in the state, where only the guys from St. Joe's could come, but girls from everywhere would come, right? And at the time, we were 14, 15. It was an amazing time. Before social media and shit, we had to meet people in person. So I just remember freshman and sophomore year just becoming super popular, the parties and stuff becoming big. And somehow I was still able to handle it all. So incentive, my dad would be like, I'll take you guys out on the weekend if you want. That started happening. Then somehow my dad went from being so strict to being like, all right, you're doing everything you're doing, so I got you. So I remember weekends, my dad would be the one taking me and my friends, picking us all up and dropping us off places. And then somebody were coordinating with other parents where they're picking us up, dropping us off. And just, it was just a really awesome time where it was like, I feel like I said, incentive. If you push someone in the right direction and you give them the proper reward for it, like they're capable of amazing things even if they don't know it. So I feel like that was an awesome time. Still getting straight A's, excelling in the program outside the music program. So then, right, freshman and sophomore year go by doing well. St. Joe's. I remember our guidance counselor committed suicide, right?
Damn.
Guidance counselor, right?
That's not ideal.
I'm a sophomore, right? All boys school, New Jersey, Catholic school. So a student commits suicide right after, right? A senior. Oh. So it's like it's getting crazy around this time, right? So a senior who's his best friend at the time, like, is going through problems, right? So he starts bullying some of the younger students in the school.
A senior that was the kid's best friend?
Yeah, the kid that committed suicide's friend, right? So that can make people start doing crazy things. So he started trying to bully people, right? So I just remember one day specifically, he started trying to bully a bunch of the younger basketball players, like minority guys, like they'd be throwing stuff at us. And at St. Joe's, we wore uniforms, so it'd be khaki pants, white shirts for all the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, and the seniors wore green shirts. So you see all the green shirts throwing stuff at us. And now I'll get into more of like my anger side, but so I didn't fucking play that shit. Like, we were in a different town, but my town, like I said, we grew up in a different time where you kind of ended up always having to be put in a situation where you had to kind of stand your ground. So I remember getting into a situation with the senior, we almost like getting into a fight. At lunch, they stop it. A week later, we're like crossing in the hallways. We almost get into a serious fight. Blah, blah, blah. Long story short.
Was this uncommon at that school? Where people,
yeah, very uncommon.
Yeah, you'd think at a private school.
Yeah, and I remember after that second situation, they took me and they had a talk with me and they were like, we think you have anger issues. Like, we don't know why you're doing this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this kid's friend just died. He's a senior bullying people. Like, how am I the problem, So that kind of annoyed me. So that year, my sophomore year, I remember this was like my first big fight. Like people in the school were like, are you going to fight? Like, what's going on?
It was like an organized thing.
Yeah, it was real. So I remember.
I used to remember those, like, damn.
It was the championship.
Nerve-wracking.
Right? Basketball championship that year. Andrew Bynum goes. They play South Plainfield. One of my friends plays for South Plainfield also, right?
He's what, 2 years older than you?
He's 2 years older than me, yeah. Okay. So he's a senior when I'm a sophomore. This is his last year. He's the number one player in the country.
He's the youngest player in the draft ever, wasn't he?
Exactly. So this was a big night, right?
He's like 14.
Yeah, right. Smallest head. Yo, so literally, we fucking bail from the fight, and I have bail from the game, and we have an organized fight outside. Like, it's like me
during the game.
During the game, it's like me.
Halftime or just mid game?
Like literally, like mid game. Like it was just like, all right, it's that time. And
did you know that was gonna happen?
Kind of, sort of. Like we just knew he was gonna be there. So me and some of my people from my hometown, because I went to school in my hometown, so they kind of those are always still my friends. And he shows up with like some of the people from seniors from St. Joe's and shit.
This is the championship?
Championship.
So is this at like a stadium or an arena?
It's at the Rutgers
basketball stadium.
Yeah, basketball stadium, and it's snowing, bro. We're outside. It's like snow everywhere. We're in this little cut, and I remember getting into a fight with this dude. Like we get into some grappling exchanges, all this shit.
Did you have any more? You had no martial arts experience at this point?
I did Taekwondo. I'm gonna get into that after this, right? Okay. So I did Taekwondo for a little bit when I was younger too. That's what I forgot to mention. But I'm like, I don't really fight. Like, I didn't really fight. Like, what the fuck?
Had you been in any fist fights?
Yes, I'm gonna go into that too right after. I just remember this motherfucker getting up. We like roll in the snow. We like roll down a hill. His shoe comes off. Right, he gets up and he's like, wait, my shoe. And I remember looking at my bro. And they're like, fuck that, hit him. And I remember like this was my first like punch, like my first like real connecting, like a fucking. Like the NBA where you slide, I punched him, I hit him so hard, and I know it hurt him, but it didn't do anything. Like he didn't want to fight after, but I just remember that moment and shit, right?
That was it. That was the end.
Yeah, so that was the end. They like stopped it and shit. So it was a big moment. I was like, all right. So I go back to say that was my first real fight, but in elementary school I got into a few fights. Like I remember I got beat up in like like kindergarten, like some dude who becomes a person later in the story. He like pulls my hoodie over my head and like starts hitting me at recess. I remember I got into a few fights in like first grade with like, you know, you and your friends, you start arguing over like video games or some shit, and I would like kick him in the stomach because I did Taekwondo. Yeah. Taekwondo was one of those 5 things I feel like in the beginning that I had to give up. One of the things that I had to give up. So I remember getting to be like a purple belt when I was like 4 or 5 or 6. And just doing that, but you know, you do some sparring when you're a kid, but it wasn't anything crazy. So that was like my first time, sophomore year, like this is the fight. And I guess I kind of won, right? So I still kept having problems at St. Joe's where they thought I had an anger problem. They tried to like make a fucking example out of me, right? That's also when I found weed. So I realized like weed kind of helped me play basketball better, helped me slow down, you know, all that weird stuff. So I remember I would kind of smoke before, and then when you're an amateur in the game, you're like, I want to smoke for free. So maybe if I like give a little bit to someone, blah, blah, blah. So I remember one day coming into school and like...
This is also
04, 05. So super illegal. Yeah. Super illegal. New Jersey was one of the worst too. So I remember coming in and having like a dime bag in my bag or some shit for like later before practice. And I'm in my chemistry class. And my vice principal comes out, and like 2 officers come to the class. And
this is pre or post fight?
This is post fight.
Okay.
Post fight. So
did anything come of the fight?
Nope. I just fucking.
What about socially or?
I was just that guy. Like we kind of like.
You became that guy.
Well, yeah. Like
so it helped socially.
Yeah, it helped too because, like I said, at the end of the day. We were at a Catholic school. You know, there are people coming from everywhere. Everybody wants to be tough, but you gotta sometimes be a little crazy to have that in you. And nobody was willing to really stand up to the guy. And at that time, like, if you see how I approach sports and like being an athlete and being competitive, I always had that. So, I guess
this dude was older.
Yeah.
And how did things resolve itself with that guy for the rest of the school year after that?
I remember seniors like left early that year. Like, you know, you get senior initiative or some shit. So I remember like his brother was actually in my year too. So I just remember after his brother like just respecting me and being cool, and we just kind of squashed it.
Okay.
But that was like my first dub, so I was excited, you know.
And did you feel? What was your emotional reaction to it? Did you feel like a sense of satisfaction and bravado and
because I felt like forever I just would avoid confrontation. Like I said, I was an introvert. Like I hated like being in the spotlight. Well, I would always perform, so I would end up being in the spotlight performing, but I hated it. Even today, like it's not my thing. So it helped, and I guess it helped people just see what you're made of,
Respect.
People, you get respect on the court now. The older athletes are looking at you like, damn, you punked that dude. I remember that too. All the older, like buying them, like all the older,
oh really?
Guys that saw how it kind of happened, being like, yo, man, like that's what's up.
Was it noticeable at these are just weird questions, but was it noticeable at the game? Was it a sizable enough section of the crowd that like scurried out of there?
For sure.
So like the players were probably, what the fuck?
I wouldn't say that, but I definitely know people in the crowd remember, because Rutgers is in Piscataway and St. Joe's, my high school, wasn't. So people had to like come to my hometown. So mad people from my hometown just pulled up to that bitch. And then St. Joe's lost that game.
It's a great event.
Yeah, St. Joe's lost that game because Bynum missed like 2 dunks at the end, and one of my close friends is the one that like hit a big jump shot at the end. So it's just like we always bring up this story somehow. But after this, so St. Joe's, they pulled me out of class, chemistry class.
For dime bag, where'd they find it?
Dime bag. So they're like, all right, we already went through your fucking locker. We need to look through your stuff, right? So I'm like, fuck, I got this dime bag in my fucking bag, and it smells. But it's the North Face bag, right? It's from the North Face shit just dropped. And if you get anything North Face, they got like 80 different pockets everywhere. Like, you're going to be finding pockets years later. So
dude, I had this. Okay, go ahead.
I'll never forget, like, vice principal, 2 officers looking through this bag, smelling weed, being like looking. And I'm just sitting there, and they can't find
What are you thinking the whole time?
I'm thinking I'm about to get in trouble. I'm going to get kicked out. Like, I'm thinking it's over, and they can't find it. And they're like, well, we got, it was a reliable source and all this stuff. So I was like,
mind your nose? Like, what?
I was like, man, who is this? What kind of stuff is this? Before it was, I like pulled
first
the race
car. First it was the Ninja Turtle painting.
I pulled the race car like crazy, man. It was so real. I kind of had to walk on shells for the rest of that year.
Sorry to interrupt real quick. I had that same experience in Cali, Colombia, with the Colombian military. Going through my shit, and I had at least a half ounce. A lot.
What year?
2019.
Okay. Damn, even that. Yeah, I mean, still.
And they didn't. It was the same situation. Bag, North Face bag.
Yeah.
Not a dime bag. Like I said, I had just bought an ounce for $5 in Colombia, and I put it in coffee grounds at the bottom of a bag of coffee grounds. But even still, the smell was just walking around and packed my bag. Military guy searching through it. It was right there on top. I think he let me off. I think he didn't know the paperwork or something. I could tell he was lower on the rung, and his higher up or whatever had sent him straight to me. Because I was the tourist hippie guy on the bus with a bunch of Colombian grandmas. And there's no way he didn't see it. And same thing, I was just sitting there why am I not in handcuffs or whatever yet? This is crazy. Probably the same thing that's going through your head. Why? And then all of a sudden, they gave me my bag back, and I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't say anything. I was just
I feel that's life too. I feel that happens, we get tested, those smacks on the hand that show us just to be more cautious and careful. So I felt like that was kind of what it was. I didn't get in trouble for the fights or whatever. Didn't get in trouble for the weed, but I was like, all right, I gotta be fucking smarter about this. Can't be fucking selling weed at school. So,
or you're selling it at school?
Not really, but like I said, I'd be like, all right, I have it done. I don't know. I'd be trying to smoke for free. Just basically, put 5 on it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Just whatever. Just being that guy.
Was there a big weed culture at this school, at St. Joe's?
A little bit, just because of the time. I mean, everybody smokes weed,
yeah,
especially back then. It's So, sophomore year at St. Joe's ends, basketball, Bynum leaves, new coaches come into St. Joe's. We had new coaches every year too. We were sponsored by N1 one year, Jordan 1 year, Nike 1 year. It was that school.
Were you playing basketball?
Yeah, I was playing. I remember I made the A team in freshman year. I made the JV team. I got to play some awesome schools, some awesome people. I got some burn. I wasn't the best during that time, but
this is a kid. This is fucking has NBA players on the team.
Yeah, so I remember just being the short guy. I still have long arms, but I was a defensive guy. I would get my buckets, fast break stuff, but I hadn't come into myself as a basketball player. I would just always still make the team. So athletic.
Yeah.
So
defense hustle.
Yeah. So that year, I'm at St. Joe's, but after that, my parents are kind of having problems, right? So my dad and my older sisters were having beef because they were just at that age.
Were your parents living together?
We were living together, still in Piscataway, still at that house that my dad got. And my sister's just, you know, it's a stepdad. He's trying to step in, and even if he's trying to do the right things, it's like they don't want to hear it because it's not, you know, how it goes. So they were having trouble, and that caused some kind of a gap between my mom and my dad also, where even like during those years when I was going to different schools, my mom would be to the point where it'd be like, Randy, my dad, you take care of Khalil, I'll take care of my daughters, we'll just fucking, you know, settle it and be cool. And my dad was the big music guy and sports guy, but my mom was always academics. So she goes, you handle him for all that stuff. And then when you travel and go to school, different places, you don't really see your family. You're kind of always on the go. So some weird stuff going on. So my parents were going to separate. And my dad was going to leave. He was going to move to like Nanuet or something like that. And he started looking at me for other schools. I was going to leave with him and all this stuff. And my mom was going to stay at the house. She was going to still help them. But, you know, we were going to move on. I was going to go to a different school. So I got accepted to this school. It's the Dalton School in New York City. At the time, it was like one of the top 3 schools in the country. Still right now, like a top 10 private school. Super expensive, but better academics, and they had a better music program. Because like I said, my dad always pushing, like always pouring into me. So I remember that summer getting into like a real beef with him where he like kicked me out. You know, we're just 15, 16, we're young, hard-headed. We've always been close, but, you know, sometimes everybody butt heads. So I remember he, like, kicked me out the house for something random, and I remember I got really mad. And I was like, fuck it, I'm not going to move with you. I'm going to, like, stay in Piscataway with my mom, my sisters, and I'm going to go to Piscataway High. I'm going to go back to public school, be with my bros, play at Piscataway High, and, like, be a normal kid, you know? Like, you're not going to force me to play piano and do all this shit anymore. And I remember going into that next year, junior year, like, trying, like literally like starting school at the public school, like going there for a week and all my friends being happy and stuff, and me thinking I'm gonna live with my mom and shit. And then, but Dalton, I think it's like 40 grand a year or something like that, like something 30, 40 grand. So my dad already fucking paid. So a week after I started at the public school, my dad's like, all right, bro, like we're not moving to New York, but we're still gonna travel from New Jersey to New York. You're gonna go to that school. And I'm like, nah, you know, I'm like still gonna fucking go to PY High. I remember one day trying to like leave, the first day he was trying to take me to school, and just this motherfucker like blocking me at the door, and we like fucking fist fight, and I like somehow survive and like make it to the bus, and I'm like thinking I'm good, I'm like I'm in the clear. He like tried to slam me and shit, because my dad used to be a fighter too, which is funny. Not like in the ring, but like just an angry fighter in the street. So
did you know that about him when you were growing up?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
He used to like protect his older brothers and shit. I'm very much like my dad. He's so charismatic, and even today is my best friend, my mentor. But I just remember making it to the bus stop, being like scooped. I had my outfit on. I made it to school that next week, and I remember like sitting in that class and getting a fucking call like on the announcer speaker and shit. Like, Khaleel Pearson, you can love. I'm like, I heard. I get there, and it's like, oh, yeah, your dad pulls you out of Piscataway High School and shit. And I'm like, oh, touche, motherfucker, you know?
What do you think was going to happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I was not smart. So that next day, I was on the way to Dalton, and Dalton was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, just because they had a lot of people that were there, like, for life. Like, these rich kids from New York, these rich men, like, the fucking owner of Tommy Hilfiger, the owner of Chanel, Model, like these prestigious like families, like their kids go to this school, these schools, it's like network. So I came in like kind of as an outsider, but I came in as like this prodigy, this music prodigy. I was gonna come in and help
you'll move the tech thing.
What's up?
You want to just keep going?
Yeah, let's go.
I'm gonna do this curtain real quick.
Cool, yeah.
Actually, fuck it, just go.
Fuck, what was this?
You're an outsider at this new school.
Oh, yo, so I was there for music and basketball, and like they really wanted me on the basketball team. It wasn't a good team at the time, and I just got to meet some awesome people that were just so genuine and so humble and took me in and once you start seeing how people with money and that like come from certain places live, and you come from a place where it's like everybody's worried about like name brands, like trying to keep up with the Joneses, like all this stuff, and then you go to school and you just see these people with everything, and they just are just some awesome people that don't care about that stuff and want to be themselves and don't want to, you know, or like super humble, don't brag about their money, but it's like people with no money are bragging about their money. So like I just made some awesome friends, some awesome relationships. Like I remember that basketball year, like we didn't win like crazy games, but I remember like making a name for myself. Like I remember I made like had like 7 straight games of 20-point games.
Was junior year?
My junior year. I remember the music program getting brought up. I was like performing well. I was just really making a name for myself, which is awesome. I was doing decent in school. It was such a hard school. Like even when we graduated, like we couldn't be given GPAs because the curriculum was so ahead of everyone else. So like I graduated with no GPA, like just the place in the class or whatever the fuck. So my junior year was awesome. My senior year was really tough. So I was trying to go to school for basketball. I was an athlete. I was good. Had a good junior year. My school, Dalton, had started putting a bunch of things into place that senior year, like tournaments, trips to Florida, this and that, for me to play and showcase my talent. So there's a college showcase beginning of the year, my senior year.
Was Dalton good?
They weren't good.
I know. Like, okay, go ahead.
Joakim Noah came from like the league. It was like a private school league, so it wasn't the best, but some people came out of it and went to other places. But after my year, they were like, yeah, bro, like we're about to fucking be good. So beginning of the year, I don't remember if it was like September or November, but college showcase, all the college coaches are coming to see you play, pick up these people from this.
Are you the best kid on the team?
Yeah, best kid on the team at the time. And I'm like the new transfer in, so it was like all that politics stuff. So I remember, because Dalton wasn't that good, I remember like in the showcase being like the second 5. You know what I'm saying? Like there's like the 5 premier and then the second 5. And I remember somebody from that first 5 like dropped or didn't come, so they like bumped me up. So I remember having like 2 fire first games, like doing well. I'm beating out all the people that were like the highlight guys. And then the third game I had, 2 guys were like trying to overcommit and they like collided on my left knee. And I heard pop. I tried to get back in. Coach was like, can you play? You know, hype me up. We want to see you. And I found out I tore my ACL. So that changed a lot for me. Dalton.
I don't know what to do. Do you mind?
Yeah.
We were too far.
Yo.
Let's see. Do you want to finish this right now? I'd like to finish it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we could do as much as we can, and then.
Okay. I can't. Let's try to move the tack fit. Are you cool with that? Can we move the tack fit to the tack or to Muay Thai?
Yeah, that's cool. I was like, I don't know. I'm so confused.
Is that what I said earlier too?
Yeah. I was like, I think. Yeah. Oh my god, I just woke up. You want to take these 2?
Yeah, but let's see if we can. Actually, I might be able to get all this shit together.
Oh, and I'll take the chair.
Cool.
What should I bring?
Chairs?
Yeah.
And then I'll probably be able to get a table. The next step.
Yo, what's going on? Chilling, man. How you doing, bud?
Good, man. You?
Good. Ready? We made it.
Yeah.
300. There's one right here, yeah. Trying to get rich today, man.
Betting?
Yeah, I got into it. I'm not trying, I have to.
Dude, how much you betting?
Nah, not much. I usually I bet really small and
I bet $1 on every fight. I put $1 on every fight.
And each person single bet? Yeah. I'm definitely gonna ride the singles, but I'm a parlay guy. Sometimes I'll put together dollar parlays that hit for $500.
Do you watch MMA Hour? Or listen to MMA Hour?
I don't watch it.
Oh, it's Ariel. You know Ariel Hawani?
Yeah, for sure. I see some interviews on the gram, but I don't.
They always have a parlay of the week.
Yeah.
That someone submitted on Twitter or whatever. And it's insane, dude. These dudes with $2.50 parlays that pay off 6 figures or some shit.
See, but I just don't trust the ones that they be giving out in certain places.
No, that's not one. They've never hit one like that given out. This is just people sitting in.
Yeah,
they're
because it happens. But the ones that they give out, I'll be like, nah, y'all be trying to just take people money, especially because everything's sponsored by FanDuel and shit too. So I'm always just trying to beat Vegas. I don't even care. It's I don't even pick up with the fights. Who is scheduled to win this time? Where's all the money at? Who's all the money on? How are the lines changing?
I want to get this way. Down quick.
I just can't believe he made it. And I like the fact that it's a week before my fight too. So it's the MMA energy. I had people that have never hit me up about MMA ever being yo, your fight's coming up. I'm yeah,
Yeah, so for those who, apologies to the audience. For those that, I don't think I said this at the beginning, we're at the gym right now, and we're setting up for a UFC 300.
In your way?
Everywhere you go.
We're in your way?
How long does it work out?
We can move over there. We can move right
I
there.
don't want to keep you up.
No, it's
that's
cool.
good.
It's cool.
I won't be long.
No, I'm good.
It's all good.
Probably 20 minutes. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Sure?
Yes, sir.
Good. Nice slide over here. Oh, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ricky.
A little warm up.
Yeah, so we're at the gym and we're setting up for a UFC 300 party at the gym. That's why there's a bunch of background noise. Not that there wouldn't always be at the gym. It is a gym.
Yeah, this is better than I expected, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. But now we switch to the other side of the gym. So hopefully it'll be a little more chill. I'm just gonna check the mic and headphones setup. Let's switch mics. Boom. Boom. Alrighty. My one headphone. Okay, cool. It's exciting, man. Are you saying so? Then you're saying, because of 300, just in the ether, people are more tuned into MMA. So random people are reaching out to you that wouldn't typically.
Especially because now everyone gambles too. Especially places that people have FanDuel and stuff. They're just looking for everything. So people are looking at the lines and just they hear these names that they've recognized over the years, and they're like, "Oh my God, Charles Oliveira."
That's cool to hear, man. Because I'm always trying to talk my friends into following. I grew up huge sports fan, but traditional sports. Ball sports, and all my buddies from back home in Atlanta are the same. They're huge sports fans. None of them follow UFC. I don't know anyone that follows UFC. I only started, or MMA in general. I only started following MMA in 2019, maybe.
I think following and being present for a weekend event is definitely.
Have you been to a live event?
I've never been to a UFC event,
Okay.
but I just think just getting people to follow, like keep up with like who's fighting week to week versus like, oh my god, this is a big fight week, versus like you can get people to watch something and fucking distract them from their regular lives and shit for a night. So that's big. Like everyone's just like, I have like people just genuinely asking me like about the fights, and I'm just like, you care like
About 300 fights?
yeah, but it's like in reality it's like probably just to make money on bets.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, I can only take it, so much.
I almost like think it. I like I said, I put $1 down on every fight every week, and I just pick who I think is going to win $1. So it's like 50 bucks a card. But I almost sometimes I question like, am I corrupting my fandom of this sport? Because it is such like beyond a sport.
Yeah.
It's
Everything's rigged.
yeah. I don't know. It's like I want to appreciate what these dudes and ladies are doing for what it is, and just like. And enjoy the effort that they're making, and enjoy the outcome for what it is. But even with $1 on the fight, like you're all of a sudden not entering it with like this open heart. You're entering it with this, like it's already corrupted. So I've thought every week I'm like, I'm done. I need to respect this sport more. No more betting, but it's so fun.
I like it though, because we do this, so it's like homework.
Yeah.
To me, like if I didn't put that dollar on it,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be as invested in studying it. So like me, like my coach, he makes fun of me all the time. I literally will have like 10 pick parlays somehow hitting shit. And he'll be laughing at me like, yo, why don't you bet my money? And I'll be like, it's not about that. It's just like the fact that it's like forcing your
100%.
brain to work and actually study.
Yeah.
Especially because we're not in school. You have to keep, I don't know.
Yeah.
If you really fucking love this shit, and you better you need to be doing homework. Right?
No, 100%.
So,
And
I'm Poe, and it would be nice to make $100 off a parlay.
No, I definitely don't think about it at all financially. What I think about it is, I do the same thing as you though. Like, I want to beat Vegas.
Yeah.
So if I start the new year with $100, by the end of and I'm picking all I'm picking is money lines. Mm-hmm. Sometimes every now and then I'll do a round total, but single bets, bet on every fight. And by the end of the year, I want to have $101. So I know, like, I beat Vegas, and it always goes up and down. It goes down to like 40. It'll go up to like 140. I'm never making big money because I'm only making single bets. But that's for me what it is. Is like I want to see if I can beat the house.
That's the smartest way to do it too. Just making your single bets. You have the same bet unit. We're putting people on right now.
Yeah.
You have the same size bet. So if you're betting $1, you only bet $1 every one, and that's your unit. So you bet per unit.
Yep.
And
it's tough
you
to
go on your runs and shit too. You have your good weeks, and you bet a certain amount of money. It can, but that's the best way to do it. Don't be fucking doing parlays all the time.
No,
just for fun. But
no, but it's so tempting because I'll do every fight, and I say just win the one unit. But then like tonight's main event, me personally, I think Predator's going to run away with it.
Okay.
So I'm like, damn, a lot of market on this, but I always stay disciplined.
This is how they get you. They get you talking, and they're like, all right. We're gonna get you that one time.
I didn't know you were so into that. I need to. I'll definitely have you back on then for just like UFC previews and shit. So I want to get more consistent with this shit.
I genuinely like. You can ask people. I like genuinely do this shit. I do sports bet on other sports and stuff like that. I like follow cappers, but I genuinely try to push my mind to like pick good fighters and like look up. So yeah, that would be awesome to do. I literally have been putting together parlays for people so they can buy tickets to my fight next week. So I've been putting up like, $2 to fit like you could cover your gas, the ticket, you know what I'm saying, and the drink and shit, so
Cody Brundage.
It's nice. And I love everyone eats, like I like people making passive income, and everybody works so hard. If you can make money off somebody else,
But if you're actually looking to make passive income, invest in like the stock market, crypto or something.
Coins are killing this year, man. I took out a bunch of my money last year too, and it's like, look at this.
Yeah,
this year's been crazy.
Yeah. I did well. I've fortunately stuck with crypto, but yeah, it's been a good year for that. Okay, senior year showcase.
Yeah,
top 5. You're going off.
So basketball, tore my ACL that year, and like I said, this is when I started to realize how everything in life happens the way it's supposed to, and you just trust. So when I tore my ACL, it was like, all right, Dalton was like, do you want to come back another year? Because a lot of people do 5th-year seniors in high school. That was important.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of players that you see that play in college and professionally, they'll go to high school for 5 years. They'll go to junior college. They'll go to college. They are really prepped up for this. So they were like, oh, you can just be a 5th-year senior. But I'm like, another 30-40 grand. This schoolwork is hard, bro. I just survived.
You do 6 years.
I'm gonna go on a random tangent too. Like, just quick. Like, I had this one teacher my senior year that, like, it was a private school, so it's like, you know, it wasn't a crazy amount of black students. It wasn't that many students in general. But I remember I had this like white older teacher that she was really old. She taught African American literature, right? So we had a few black kids in the class and shit. Yeah, and the reason why she taught is because she had a black husband that she met online that she never even saw, but they were like married from online, right? So I would be in class with her and she'd be trying to tell me about the experience, or like we'd be analyzing something and I'd be like, or like on my papers I'd just be like, nah, like I don't think that's what he's saying, like, but I see where you could think that. So like I just remember my senior year and I had all that shit happen where I tore my ACL. Oh well, so then I tore my ACL. Then I had a fire in my crib too, bro.
Oh shit.
So I had a fire that started in my room like 2 months after before I had my ACL surgery too, right?
So you had a bum knee and a fire.
So I had a bum knee and a fire in my house. Like, I had stayed home from school because I used to commute to New York every day. So I had stayed home from school, went to the doctors to like find out that I needed the surgery. I get to school, they take me out of school, they take me out of class, and they're like, "You had a fire in your crib," and I'm like, my mom's like playing a joke on me and shit. And then I really find out like I had a fire start in my room, like from my computer. Like I said, I was kind of spoiled, incentive. I had a computer, I had 2 TVs in my room. It didn't make any sense. But it was like a computer fire, electrical fire that started from the computer. And it started in my room. My room's caught on fire, burned almost everything. But my mom stopped by the house on lunch or some shit, thank God. And she was able to like see it. She ran in and closed my room door. The firemen came and busted through the house and fucking, took care of the fire. But all the soot and all the smoke in the house, we couldn't live there for a period of time, right? So I had a bum knee, a fire in my crib, right? And senior year, I had to still worry about college and stuff. So like I said, I had this fucking teacher like trying to like give me a hard time African American lit, and I'm like, do you see what I'm trying to? You see my year? But so that was really rough.
Where y'all living? Where'd y'all live there?
We had to stay at stay-in hotels, and I'll never forget. This is when I realized too that I was a spoiled piece of shit. So I remember the day it happened. I was still smoking weed. I called one of my best friends. He picked me up. I went to the park. I cried for hours. I just didn't understand why. I remember the Red Cross responded or something because of firemen, and they were like, "Here's $500 on this card or whatever. You can go out and get yourself some clothes, some necessities," because I lost all that shit in my room. And I remember going out to some store that I liked, and I swear to you, Alex, I spent the $500 on an outfit. It was and I just remember being what's wrong with me?
You knew it at the time.
Yeah, and I remember that was the time during throwback jerseys, and you remember we grew up the big white tees. So I just remember the custom kicks, that was just what it was, and I just remember being maybe this is why, you always have to study why things happen and the timing in which things happen. So I just remember being all right, I'm gonna be different, So I had to really switch the timing of it. So after all of that happening, my music became so important. I've been doing that forever. I've been doing all these extracurricular things. I've been doing really good. At the time, I was probably one of the best in the States. I had been gigging. That was my part-time job, too, where I would be a part of bands, and I'd go perform at different restaurants. I perform in malls. We perform in venues. I was a professional musician for a long time. It went from classical to jazz when I started playing in all these different programs. So my dad was like, look at this. He loved it. I had to go and do recordings, be in studios, hire professional musicians to make demos and mix and tapes and all this stuff. And it was just a crazy time because, like I said, I was dealing with an ACL injury. I was learning how to walk again. We couldn't live in our house for 3 months. We were staying things. So it was just a crazy time. But life puts you through that stuff, so you're stronger. So we ended up 3 months after being able to move back into the house. I had started planning for schools. I got accepted to almost every school I applied to. I think every school I applied to 7 schools. I had to do recordings for them to see if I was going to get accepted into the music program. So I got scholarships at different places, but the biggest scholarship I got was from University of Miami, and it was like a $25,000 a year scholarship. And before that, I always wanted to play basketball at University of Miami. That's always where I saw myself going.
Dude, when I was in high school, graduated '06, I was obsessed with going to University of Miami.
I graduated in '07, so it makes sense.
Bro.
Yeah, it makes sense. And that's when the football was like the thing, so
the summer after my junior year, so summer of '05, me and my best friend drove down to Miami to visit it, do the admissions, get all our shit in person. Hey, we're here, because we was expensive.
And
as fuck.
Atlanta too, yeah, so it's not that far.
Yeah, but we knew how expensive it was, and we had good grades, but we knew, but we wanted to show up in person, we put our application in person, we wanted so bad. Same thing, he got more, his grades were better, he got more money, I think maybe around like 25 for academics, and I got not as much, maybe like 15, and it just wasn't enough. Yeah, but dude, that's
Bro, we could have been there at the same time. I imagine.
Did you ever go down there?
Nah, that was the thing. Like, I had all that stuff going on my senior year that I just knew. Like, I was like, I'm not even gonna visit. I'm just gonna.
I just knew too, and then I went down there. I was like, I knew it. This place is awesome.
So like that, when I found out that became such a huge part of my identity, like because basketball and sports was like everything, and I didn't really, like I said, I didn't like the music. I was doing it, but it wasn't like my passion. So at the U, it was like, I'm not just gonna go for performance. I'm gonna go for music business. Like I wanted to like work for labels and shit like that. So it ended up happening like that. Next year, I ended up just going down there. The summer before that, I do remember having an incident where I had gotten to another fight, altercation, where because I didn't go to the town schools, like my hometown, but I still knew people, I would still get attention, like, girls, or, I'd still meet girls, but I wouldn't know if they had boyfriends and stuff. This is before social media. We had MySpace and shit, but, all that weird stuff. So, long story short, I remember, like, having a lot of dudes in my hometown really mad at me. So, the summer before I went to college, I was at a party, I was fucking drinking, smoking, and one of the guys that I knew that I actually thought was a close friend of mine, he, like, brought me outside one day and, like, set me up to, like, fucking fight me. I had 4 dudes waiting, almost damn near jumped me. So I remember that being like a really big experience for me before I went to college. And even when I went there, I remember like I just wasn't present. Like I still had that on my mind. I still had the fire on my mind. I still had the knee surgery on my mind. Like I just wasn't mentally prepared. Like I was there for music, but I was still an athlete. So I would be, and for the program that I was in, like I had to take like 13 classes. It was like the most outrageous, weirdest thing. It was like the best music business program in the country outside of like USC or something. So it was a lot, and I just remember like rejecting it. I had a fake ID too. New York, the Dalton kids, they would set me up. We had fake IDs. We were those guys. You know what I'm saying? We had Alex. When I say like these kids had a real New York City printer for like a certain year, so we would print out real IDs. So I went to Miami as a 17-year-old with a real scannable ID. Like I would be getting them for my friends and stuff. So like I was in a bad place. So my freshman year, I would skip classes and go train. I would be meeting girls in Miami and just having them come stay, and I was just kind of bullshitting.
Skip class and go train what?
Like workout and stuff. It's the youth, it's nice. You want to look good. So
just like lifting and stuff.
Yeah, lifting. Okay. And I was just trying to find myself. Coming back from a knee surgery, I'm like, I could finally walk again. I want to play basketball.
What major did you clear? Like, what was you had a full class load?
It was a music business and the entertainment industry / jazz piano studies. Okay. So I had everything of the jazz piano studies people, and then fucking like 8 more classes and shit in business, man. It didn't even make sense. Like it got to the point where my sophomore year, my advisor left for the year because it was too much or whatever. My jazz piano studies teacher got like kicked out because he was drunk and hitting on students. They brought in a new head of like, it was a lot going on within the school, and I just wasn't in a good place too. So I went there for like 2.5 years, and I remember I was a popular guy, so I remember I started working for different labels. Like I wanted to go there for music business, but they were so strict on me performing and this class load of times that I had to be there that they didn't really support me. I was working for Def Jam at the time. I remember I had a a video shoot with like Terror Squad in this fucking penthouse, and I text my teacher like I was gonna be 5 minutes late to a performance class, and I got there 5 minutes late, and I rushed in, and she kicked me out and all this stuff. It was like, do you guys not want me to succeed? You know, and that's when I started realizing too, like some people, based on where they're at in their life, they'll project and try to keep you small. And I just used to be like, if you're my teacher, like wouldn't you want me to experience these things and work with me, because I could be like. Anyway, so I remember after 2.5 years at the U, I was working for Def Jam and another label out there, and I just left school and started working. I lived out there for another like 2.5 years. I was working, had my own place. Then I remember getting into something with the owner of a second label that I worked for. And the Def Jam thing was cool, but there wasn't an office in Miami. So I felt like they would send me a huge workload and I'd have to do it all myself. So that's when I realized it was in Miami. Oh, they're based in New York and LA. So when I would come to New York, go back to home to visit, they would let me in the office and I would do all that stuff. But I realized young, it was like, all right, places try to make you do a lot of the work for them. And it's like, if you start doing a lot of the work for yourself, then you could just make all the money and reap all the benefits. And I see all the people doing that. Other people that work for labels, they'd be like, yo, you work for a label, you build ties, you get your network and connections, and you take that and you build your own thing, you know what I'm saying? And now you have your connections and your ties to work off of. So after that, I left Miami and I went back to New York for a little bit. And I started my own record label with some guys that I grew up with. We ended up doing investing. We had a few artists. We had them performing. I also worked as an A&R for like an online company, because things started changing from like in person to
what's A&R?
Artist and relations. So you're basically recruiting artists. You're finding talent, doing all that weird stuff. And I was able to do it online.
So you got the sufficient education. You're doing it.
So I literally went. I was like, yo, like, and I went in there for a music business, and I just was already working in there because I felt like that's what you're going to school for too. And then school is expensive. Like,
fuck yeah, dude.
You know, I was getting $25,000 a year, but me and my dad were like, I wasn't getting loans. Like my dad was like paying out of pocket and shit. And it was like, you know, if I'm already doing it, and I felt like it was a scam. Like I felt like I was being scammed with all the stuff that was going on with the school at the time. So yeah, I just was working. It ended up being awesome. Like I ended up being able to grow as a person in the industry. Like I made a name. I remember we would club promote. I'd be like a host at clubs. I remember I used to always be in weed. Like I said, even from when I got in trouble, I always was like still a smoker. So when I was in college, I was selling weed. So even when my friends in college were struggling to like fucking eating ramen and shit, I was always selling weed. So I always had money through those years too. So I was able to save
down in Miami as well.
Yeah, down in Miami as well, where that's where things like kicked up. I really learned how to sell weed from people like Dalton, and then when I went to the U, like
business people.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like it's crazy. So yeah, it like took me up a whole notch and shit, and then that's when I had to learn how to survive. I left staying on campus my second year because I wouldn't get in trouble for smoking weed, but I'll be smoking weed on campus, and I would always get away with it, but I didn't like having to worry. Like I wanted to lay and smoke in my bed. So I remember like wanting to live off campus my second year, and you want to do that, you got to make money. And my dad, when I was younger, he always gave me incentive, but he always made me work for that shit. So while some of my friends were getting like $2,000 a month or like $600 a month to like live in college and do all this shit, my dad was like, "Here's $400, yo, you have for the month. I have rent. My rent's $700. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just not helping me. But I had to learn how to trap, make money. So through those years, that helped me working for labels and stuff. So at the end of the day, I realized I didn't even need their money that they were giving me. I was making my own and able to build my own. So I tried that for a while. I went up to New York. I did get in trouble for cannabis as well. So that kind of forced me to stay there for a period of time.
Where, New York or Florida?
In New York. So after Florida, I went to New York for a little bit, and I planned on moving to California. I came out to LA. I would come out here to visit often, but I came out here specifically when I was 23 and moved all my stuff out here. Like everything was like ready to come. I left my dogs in Miami, my dog, and I remember I had to make a round trip back to pick up my dog, to pick up some cash because I was still selling weed or whatever, handle some business, and then go back to LA and finally move out here and be good. So I have a 3-day trip. I get to New York first. I was going to New York first and then going to go pick up my dog and then come back to LA.
Damn, so you're doing a triangle?
Yeah. I used to always do that, like in the cannabis thing, because everything's coming from California, so I would be trapping California, New York, Miami. Like that was a triangle. I was always traveling between the three.
Oh, you were transporting it yourself?
Well, like send it. Well,
yeah, I don't know what
like stuff was happening. Long
story
short,
just haven't been asking them.
It's okay. Long story short, I remember getting to New York, like making my rounds, picking up money and stuff. I remember I picked up one of my friends because he was one of my guys, and long story short, I got in trouble with one of my friends because of something that he was involved in, but I was just dropping him off. So the cops picked me up and, searched my car fucking illegally and all this shit, and they found a good amount of bud. And I had like 20 grand in the car too, right? Because I was picking up money. So they were like, who the fuck are you? Like, the fuck? So I remember getting arrested, having to sit in county.
How much do you have in the car?
Maybe like 3 pounds or something.
Oh shit. Okay.
And at the time, like, that wasn't even a lot for what we were doing, so like it was and man, to keep it completely real with you, it was me, my girl, and my friend in the back seat. And when we pulled up to his crib, we were gonna like drop off my girl and then go make some runs. And in my girl's car, we had like way more money. We had a lot more blood or some shit. And
whoa.
When they picked us up, I just remember being so adamant on like letting my girl get away, like she has nothing to do with this, blah blah blah, like because it could have been way worse. And ended up letting her go, and we ended up, so it could have been so much worse. And that's why I keep saying life has this way of like giving you these smacks on the wrist for whatever you need to learn at the moment. Sometimes harder depending on what you need, but this is definitely like my slap on the wrist. So
real quick, and only divulge how much you want to divulge. You're talking pounds here, so how long?
Yeah.
It went from high school where you had a dime bag, and it just steadily progressed to pounds.
Yeah, like I feel like
by early 20s.
Yeah, in college, in Miami, I used to just still like cop ounces and flip them. Nothing crazy, still ace. But I remember in Miami, I had met someone from California that grew from. Wow, I'm burnt out. I haven't eaten, but just someone from Northern Cal who just had the plug and just saw potential in me. Like I was always a good guy. I was taking care of everyone. In Miami, I had such good clientele, like because I was in the club scene. So I'd have like spring break, and people travel to Miami all the time. So it's always that place people are coming in. So you have the tourist money. So I remember I used to have like people from every country like coming in different times a year. So I made really good money while I lived there, and I felt like that's why it spoiled me so much that's why I'm such a nomad now, and I put myself through rough times because I felt like I had it way too easy. So yeah, I met somebody who was able to supply me a certain amount, and I knew that was going to be able to make me provide me the opportunity to live a certain lifestyle. So yeah, I took it, man, and we made great money. I remember we were like en route to make like 100 grand cash in profit like every 6 months. Like it was like that good.
So you're talking about life, like
life changing. So I was, and this was when I was 23. I was young with so much money. I was able to buy anything I wanted, do whatever I wanted, but I wasn't still mentally there. So. And when I got in trouble, it was because of my friend, right?
So at this point, once again, only divulge when you want to divulge or plead the fifth. At this point now, are you starting to like have people under you? At that, if you're making 100 grand or 6 months, you have people under you. Okay.
I learned at a really young age how to not only help people make money, but have people make money for you, because that's business.
Yeah,
that's literally business.
Right.
And like I said, I went to
business school.
You know what I'm saying? I literally learned from people that have, parents that are running like the light, life, So, and like I said, taking care of people is a big thing, like you have to be a certain type of person to do things. And when you have product, whether you're fucking running a supermarket and you're able to supply people, you're creating bosses. Like you're helping other people become entrepreneurs. So I remember that was just big for me. I was helping everyone around me.
Wow, that's beautiful, dude. That like you're getting intrinsic motivation out of the out of the weed game. It's great. That's awesome.
Business is business, no matter what you're in. You know, and
especially when you're selling weed, you're not selling fucking fentanyl. Like,
exactly, it helped people. And during that time too, where it was so illegal, but it would help everyone. And we had the best weed in the country too at the time. From Humboldt, like it was just Alex, it was the craziest thing ever. But I remember getting locked up. I spent like 14 days in county.
What they charge you with? Possession of
Man,
fuck ton of weed.
Everything, bro. Distribution, manufacturing, money laundering of certain things.
Whoa, so that's how they do it, right? They just throw everything they can at you
and then see what sticks. Yeah, so, and then in New Jersey too, the county I got arrested in, they're the only county that when you first get taken in, you're locked up for 23 hours of the day and only out 1 hour of the day, right? So that was crazy. They also had
weed.
They had bail source, right? Wherever if you had somebody come pay bail for you, because that's how you fucking get out, you needed to provide so much information on where that money came from. Like you had to have so much info. Like my dad couldn't just like go give money or something. Like it was so crazy. And then when you get in there, you go through, you see a judge initially. So a bunch of people that get arrested during the same time as you, they hear what you're arrested for in front of a judge. So when all these people in this town in New Jersey, they hear like, you got have $20,000 and blah, 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 all these pounds. I was like the man. I was the man. I was a little 135 pound dude, but everybody was like, how'd you do it? California, you know, all this shit. Like, you came from Miami, like all this shit.
You're studying music.
Yeah, like, yo, it was crazy. So when I was in there, it's crazy. I like made some great friends. Like, I met some of the smartest people I ever met. And people say this all the time, but I just met, that shit really changed my life. But I was able to get out, and because of the bail source thing, like, and I had money saved up to get a lawyer and do all that stuff. But some of my friends didn't. Like, they weren't prepared in that way, so they had to stay in a little bit longer.
Did do people that things. Were with you?
Yeah.
Was there a bunch of people that got caught up?
Nah, when it happened, it was me, my girl, and my bro at the time, whose fault it was. It was his fault. He had spoke to an informant beforehand, and he didn't know, blah, blah, blah. Somebody finessed him. But when we pulled up to his crib, we were just like switching cars. So another one of my bros was pulling up, and they like ran up on him too. So he got arrested. So it was three of us.
So this wasn't an accident.
Nah, it was definitely.
It was like a broken taillight or something.
And what sucks too is, I guess a few days before, my bro had told the informant that he was talking to. He was just trying to make money, trying to make a sale.
Yeah. Somebody
just finessed him, but he had told him like, I'm gonna have a large amount coming in on Friday, and then I fly in Friday morning. So that's how it all happened. And we didn't even know how it happened at first, but long story short, they stayed in a little bit longer than I did. And I had to like figure out my life. I had just moved to California. My dog was in Miami. I wasn't living in New Jersey. I had to figure out how to live again in New Jersey, like find a place to live and shit. So they held that against me. And then even when my friend found out that it was his fault, he still tried to like throw me under the bus in court. So I had to deal with that stuff, like literally in court, like your friend being like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, and it's crazy because we had talked about like handling things a certain way, and so
y'all talked to it prior to getting arrested?
Not prior. I mean, there's an unspoken rule prior to getting arrested. And this is my guy I took care of, helped people make a lot of money.
Keep your mouth shut. Yeah.
But when it all happened, we had still talked about it too. Like we had all gotten out. We had realized like, man, it'd be easy. We could still make money after this. We could figure this out. And, you know, we were young, we were kids, people have feelings, and he kind of just still tried to, like, fuck up the whole shit, and it ended up hurting him. Like, I still ended up having a good lawyer, taking a decent plea. I ended up just getting probation and shit.
Damn.
And, yeah. And
I got fucking arrested for weed in 2016 for, like, a fucking less than an eighth. I got probation and shit.
Yeah.
I had to take drug tests for, like, a year. Like, monthly drug tests for a year for possession of, like, an eighth. In Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia's even harder though too. Like I remember the dude that I would do dealings with cannabis. He got arrested in Georgia for something, and they were trying to like literally like send him to prison for like a long period of time.
Yes,
but he was luckily able to like get it sent back to California because that's where he was from.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was crazy. So I had to like literally my life changed from making all this money. I was still dealing with cannabis too, but it wasn't like it was. I wasn't making the money. I was forced to live in New Jersey.
Oh, you had to live there.
Yeah, they forced me to stay there for 5 years.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that's
a
when,
significant probation.
Yo, I want to say we should finish, but should we watch the fights?
Yeah, we can finish whenever.
Yeah, and maybe tomorrow we finish.
Yeah, finish tomorrow. We're hour 13, and this is a great stopping point.
Yeah.
Cool. We haven't got into fight talk.
Because also, I want to eat.
Yeah, let's do it. I want to watch the fights as well.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, we'll talk to you later. Peace.
Yeah, that's fucking dope.
Dude, you're awesome.
Yeah, and I feel like
This is the easiest interview I've ever done. I just had to press play on you.
Yo,
You go.
bro,
It's fucking fantastic.
Like I haven't eaten, so like I feel like I'm like scrambling a little bit. But yeah, I got some shit for you. Like me having to go back for the fight yesterday. That was a nice start. It's like, thank you.
What was the clip?
You see it? It's like they dropped. So total domination. So they did it up next. So it's just a recap, but it's like. So, you know, it's just a recap, you know? But it's like, love, yo. They're showing love. It's important. Just a recap.
That's dope.
Same.
Dude, they have the shit together.
Yeah. But it's like they gotta start, I don't know. I feel like sometimes the favoritism is like, it's so real. The politics are so real.
Do you want to talk
like
about
if
that?
You're on that? Yeah, if you're like on the outside, yeah, I don't give a fuck.
That's my boy. Just start. Yeah, so this is part 2. Khaleel Pearson. We recorded part 1 before UFC 300 on Saturday night, April 13th. UFC 100 was awesome. But now we're back, Tuesday of fight week, your 5th fight.
Yep, my 5th fight.
And the weight cut has begun.
Yeah, slightly.
We got one more day before the hard weight cut begins, so I'm glad I get you today.
Yeah.
So what's up? How you feeling? Do you get nervous? Do you get excited? How you feel? You just talk. I'm gonna adjust that.
I feel good, man. It's funny. The more fights I get, the more people ask me, you know, like, when do you get nervous? You know, like, when do you, like, or do you? And it's crazy. The only time I really feel any feelings is when I first get confirmation. Like, when I first get confirmation of the fight. So this was, you know, maybe like 5-6 weeks ago. But then after that, it's just like grinding. So now, like, I feel good. Like, I finished camp. Like, Friday was, I saw you Saturday, so Friday was my last day of hard training. And camp is the fucking hard part.
You see the question?
Got you. Cool. Like, camp is the hard part. Like, every day showing up, knowing your coach is trying to kick your ass to prepare you for whatever. And that means over-preparing you. So, yeah, I feel cool. I had, like, a nice training day yesterday. I got some awesome training partners getting me ready. Today, some light strength and conditioning. I hit Legacy for TAC-Fit because those are my peoples. And I feel like all of that stuff just helps my body, like, morph back into whatever I need it to be to perform. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I did that today. And I got
How hard do you go this last week compared to the rest of camp or training in general? Because I'm doing this jiu-jitsu tournament coming up, which is nothing compared to an MMA fight, but I'm always wondering, it's like, I got jiu-jitsu is obviously way different. You have to be as careful with the training, but I'm like, 2 days, just total rest beforehand, but those, like, this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday beforehand, I'm going to go pretty hard, and then Thursday, Friday, just chill, do nothing. I guess that's what I want to do.
Yeah, so that's a great question, yo. So I didn't know this really well until going into my last fight too, because sometimes I would have little shit in between, but you just go through the motions the same. Like, you literally treat the week the same, except for you don't go hard. You shouldn't be going super live. You should be really letting your body rest, like semi, but you should like literally be going drill pace feel for that week.
You think with jiu-jitsu as well?
Yeah, I would say the same, yo. Like, you want your body to be fresh. I hear some, especially, I don't know if you're cutting weight, but especially if you're cutting weight, the first thing when I was working with the dietitian, she was like, "Yo, like people when they're cutting, they drastically stop. Like they cut down there, like almost to the point where she was like, they don't even fucking train that week." It was almost like where she was insinuating, but I do like going through the motions because sometimes I feel like if you stop flowing, then you don't feel like you're in a flow when it's time to perform. So I like going through the motions up until like Wednesday, maybe even that, if it from a Saturday, so that Thursday. Depends on if you have to cut weight. Thursday, maybe go through the motions, but have fun with it those days. Like, but you don't want to be stagnant, just sitting. So yeah, drill speed, drill feel, but going through the motions, same. So almost the same classes you would normally go to, just chilling. Enthusiasm. Even this week, I was saying I wasn't going to have caffeine because I'm big on enthusiasm. So I want my drive to be coming from a different place. So then when I do have caffeine, but that's like the feel you want to get, where you're like your body gets to recover that much, where you get that enthusiasm and it's not beat up. So just what I've experienced works really well.
Dude, the caffeine thing, that's interesting you bring this up because I've been making. This year, I've been sitting down and being more explicit about goal setting, and one of all my goals is like management of like my neurochemicals in my brain, caffeine, weed. I guess that's pretty much it. I don't really drink anymore. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Caffeine's the big one though, because I feel like it gets me a big crash, like at the end of the day. So I don't know, fight week as well. It's like I'm gonna go at least one day without caffeine, just so that the day of the fight, maybe the day before, I'll go caffeine less. And the day of the fight, I shouldn't say fight, the day of my jiu-jitsu match, the caffeine will hit me.
Yeah,
I'll be ready to fucking rock.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, I'd like to pick up, if you're cool with it, where we left off in your story. Is that cool?
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
5-year probation in New Jersey.
Yes, sir.
So that changed things because things were, I don't know.
Yeah, things were like probably
a little too good.
Where everyone wants to be at a certain point, like those like stories and shit. It's so funny, but yeah, it was good, and I was still very lost at that time. So like I was saying before, every time I say this all the time, but like the man above or whoever's in control has his way of always giving us the slaps on the wrist that we need. So yeah, I was forced to stay back home in New Jersey, but this was also a blessing in disguise because I had spent so much time like traveling for school and stuff that I didn't even like really know my family. Like like I didn't spend as much time with my family. So my sister had kids pretty early, so I had 2 young nieces and nephew. I had 2 nieces young, so I got to go back and like really spend time with them, spend time with my mom. I also got to give them a chance to really get to know me because I'm an adult at this time. They had this perception of me because I got in trouble, and at the time too, weed was still illegal, so they just really didn't understand, and they make you feel like shit about it until it became legal and they understood. But yeah, it was an interesting time. But at the end of the day, I was still always about making money, and I was still dead set on coming back to LA as soon as whatever was over with. So I just remember I still had some money, so I remember just buying a car, getting a whole bunch of fucking supplements, and I remember I got in trouble in a county that was really strict, so I wasn't trying to stay in there. Like I just knew it was going to be a bad time for me because of what I got caught with. So my sister was living in a different county close by, so I was able to get it switched. So that was like a big blessing, where that office gave me a lot more leeway. Like I was able to still travel a little bit.
What was that, being out of the state?
Yeah, out of the state. I remember even as soon as I got out of like county, I like immediately went to Miami to pick up my dog. Like it was so funny. Even in Somerset, I had a probation officer that was cool with one of my older sisters when they were in high school or something, and he like used to manage musicians, and he knew that in Miami I worked with artists and stuff. So I remember I'd go to probation and he would like pull out his phone and like show me videos of artists and be like, what do you think? And I'd be like, life doesn't make any sense, but everything happens the way it's supposed to. So I literally would like have my address in this county, but I would still need to live on my own. I'm growing, my sister, my mom, they would be living together, working together and stuff. So I ended up getting a few different places with some of my childhood friends. So I really got a chance to like see who from my childhood was not only still my friend, but like worth keeping around, you know. So we like lived by Rutgers. We got like an apartment. I feel like something happened with that shit. We had to jump somewhere. We ended up getting this really nice house like by Rutgers, like across the street. And it was like a 5-bedroom, pool table downstairs, bar downstairs, like double fireplace, like just something we definitely just shouldn't have gotten. Like it was so crazy. Like they didn't check anything. And me at the time, I was trying to save money because of course it was all about getting back to California.
Yeah.
Like that was all it was about. And then it was like, yeah, I want to enjoy this with my people. It's like I'm just that guy. Like I want to share stuff and put everybody on. So I remember that was just a crazy experience where I would just like be trapping and selling meat all day and just working out. So that's where a lot of the fight stuff started, where a friend of mine, Triple B, aka Bobby, who's still a good friend of mine, where he used to kind of get bullied, but he just went through this phase where he just toughened up and wanted to become a fighter and a boxer. And I was there at that time, and I guess I was an enabler, where I would just enable him and his confidence and laugh while he would get mad and try to fight everybody else. But I love that energy. Like I just loved, like that's, you know, it was different. So we started training. We would do boxing and stuff. And he kept up with it for a while, but I feel like I always run into people who, I mean, we were talking about this earlier, where once they start training with me or they see my level of intensity about this shit or whatever I'm doing, they get, I don't know if it's intimidated or like it kind of makes them not want to do it or want to like, or like some people don't have the same consistency or drive, but like I run into a lot of people where we start stuff together and they fucking dwindle out quick and shit. Like, so I feel like that would happen with us and shit, but I was always working out, still always like doing weights, still always doing that stuff, but I kept up with the boxing a little bit. I remember during this time I ended up living with, I think I told you about how I got like kind of beat up in preschool or some shit randomly. So I remember one of the guys I let live in the house with us was the guy, because we ended up being cool after and shit. Like that was really small. We were literally in preschool and shit.
But it has an effect still.
Yeah, it definitely does, right? So I have this thing about, I mean, sometimes you hear the saying like, where I'm from, bullies get bullied. And I just really have this thing about people that put down other people to try to like boast themselves up, or just people that purposely bring bad energy to get something for themselves and shit, right? So I feel like this kid specifically, he was riding off like high school being cool and stuff, and long story short, he was like bullying someone. He like lost in 2K or something, and went out of his way to like bully someone and like threaten him. So I didn't like that shit. And at the time, I was tracking my macros. I went from weighing 135 pounds to fucking 185 pounds. I was lean, lifting, like, so I was like, man, like, I'm just tired of this. And I wasn't really confrontational. I was just training. Like, that's just what I did. So I just will never forget. He says something, I step in between them or whatever. He says I'm not going to do anything. He like pushes me or something. So I remember I grab him, I like push him, like not through a door, but like doors open, out the door. There's like a wall fridge. I remember lifting this kid up and like bashing his face in, like,
fuck.
Just like hitting him. Because he like literally came up at me and pushed me. So I grabbed him, hit him. So I remember he got loose and we ran into the living room. And this is how life happens in cycles, right? So this motherfucker, I'm wearing a hoodie at the time. So just like in preschool, this motherfucker tries to grab my hoodie and put it over my head again like in preschool, yo. So I swear to God, I'll never forget. I remember being like, whoop, and then getting up and both of us looking at each other and laughing and being like, yeah, motherfucker, that shit ain't gonna work this time, right? So he fucking runs from me and runs out the house. And at the time, my friend, Bobby, who I was saying, he was all about like, I got 2 pairs of gloves in the car. We could just box. We could just spar. Like, it was all about sparring, where when we boxed, we trained, but we would just go spar. Like, we would literally go on the street and spar for a long time, and we would be trying to literally kill each other because we were young and didn't know. But that was very much the action. So I'll never forget like being outside, like telling my like childhood guy that beat me up, being like, come outside, let's settle this shit. And him not wanting to do it and shit. And then coming back in and him being like, damn, yo, you really lifted me off the ground and like punched me in the face and shit. And, you know, long story short, like, you know, I care about everybody. So I feel like through life I had to be kind of a tough friend to him. But after that, we definitely didn't like each other. Like
okay.
like we had beef going on. I remember his baby mom was trying to fuck with me and all this shit. Anyway, so during that time, I feel like I got to kind of taste what I was like fucking capable of. Right?
Yeah, did you feel it in that moment?
Yeah, because I knew it because of the training. Like I literally went from being a small guy to spending every day tracking my food, like trying to get bigger, like making sure I did whatever I did. Progressive overload. I would do 2 a days, lifting weights, like fucking studying science, calculating my lifts. Like I was literally doing fucking everything I needed to, and it was like at the end of the day, it was like California. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just I'm gonna do whatever it takes, so when I get there, I'm gonna be ready. And it was a crazy experience. You know, I spent like 4.5, 5 years on probation. I was still selling weed, and a lot of my friends were too, and doing other stuff. But I just remember just always like worrying about getting in trouble. Like it was just still in the back of my mind because I was still on probation.
Was it hard to get back into it? Was no one was monitoring you? Like, didn't you have to report income and shit?
So I remember when I first got on probation, had a good lawyer, had a Jewish lawyer, right?
Okay.
So paid him good. So I remember like just because at the end of the day, everything gets worked out. Like when people go to court, everyone gets like charged with a bunch of stuff, and they have a lawyer work it out. So nobody ends up getting whatever, and it's all politics. Your lawyer is cool with the prosecutor at the end of the day. They go out to lunch every day anyway. So it's like all about, does he owe you a favor today, or like does this lawyer owe, like it's all fucking politics. So I guess that day the prosecutor owed my motherfucker a favor and shit. So I ended up like getting this dumb delivery job. It was kind of like Uber Eats before Uber Eats, where it was just in a little neighborhood, and I got to just chill in a whip and fucking like go to different restaurants and drop off the food and shit. So literally Uber Eats before and shit in a small area. So that's what helped me keep my license. That was my like thing of income. I was still managing artists and shit too, so I still had some legal money coming in. But at the end of the day, I was just trying to still get rich. Like it was still like we're trying to get rich off weed, still doing whatever we had to do.
It's still legal.
Yeah, still illegal.
And that's good for you.
Yeah, very much good for me still. Yeah, it was definitely always my thing. And I feel like business is business too. So like we were saying, it's all about taking care of your people. You take care of your people, they're able to take care of their people. Like, you know, like you're literally... And I feel like flower and cannabis is so lucrative that like, you know, if you have the right things, you're able to really make good money. I mean, you see it out here. I've seen people do the legal way and go from working at Verizon to becoming, you know, heads of companies because it's just that lucrative if you make it make sense. So during that time, it was great. I was able to save money, take care of my people. We had situations, though. I remember a quick story. I remember Bobby, I was just talking about, I don't mean to share too much business, but I remember like he got into a situation where like we ended up having like SWAT come to our house.
Wait, this guy lived at the house near Rutgers too?
Yeah, like
so you lived with a guy who you had physical altercation with?
Yeah, and a bro that was fucking that was crazy.
And whose girl was
Yeah. That was a different person. That's not the person that brought the SWAT to the crib.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to name drop just because I'm giving people too much information. But my dude Bobby was the dude that I would be sparring with and boxing with.
Gotcha.
So he ended up getting some situation where we had SWAT come through, and I just remember I used to have so many times there where I was just so worried about everything being taken from me that I had been working for, you know, and definitely like from my surroundings as well. And I just remember getting, like I said, those slaps on the wrist, man. I'm like, where you get fucking tried. I remember that time specifically, like the SWAT team coming there for him for some reason, and then finding all this shit in the crib. Like I remember trying to run out the back door with weed and having to throw it behind the laundry machine, and then pulling out guns in my face and tackling me and throwing me up against the garage and thinking that I'm my friend because I'm not light-skinned, but I'm medium-skinned. My boy's light-skinned. But I just remember them like literally holding up a Facebook picture, his Facebook profile picture against my face while they're holding guns to my face, like to see if I was him and shit. So there was just a lot of moments where, like I said, like you have those moments that you could either not take them as lessons or signs, or you can absolutely take them as lessons or signs, or like, you know, and understand that you have to transition and do whatever, and life kind of has a way of like doing that for you at the same time if you understand it. Like, you don't have to even take action yet, but as long as you're able to recognize things, it opens up different doors because you're viewing things differently. So I just remember kind of like changing a little bit, like starting to really put things into play where I was just really doing whatever I had to do to get out. And I remember getting off probation.
Did you get out of the SWAT situation without issue?
Yeah. Like literally they came there for him, so they found a bunch of shit in the crib and they ended up pinning it on him. Like, so there was like 5 roommates. It was a huge house, bunch of rooms, 5 of us and shit, and they found shit in everybody's room, like weed stash and shit, illegal stuff. I don't know if they found like hard, there wasn't anything crazy, but the reason why they came is they supposedly tried to accuse my bro of having a gun on him when they had their situation, so that's why they came with the SWAT team. But they knew that he was such an asshole for putting us in that position to bring them there, because they like tracked his location and shit. It was crazy. And so they let us all go and just tried to fuck him over as much as they could. So that's what I'm saying. Life has its way where it's like, man, I remember I was 4 years into probation, like, man, like, just for like letting my bro and being around this shit. So I remember just doing everything I had to do, kind of changing, putting things into play, had some money saved. I remember I got off of probation like 5 years later. I still had to pay my lawyer to like try to do it fast, and it still didn't happen fast and shit. But I remember getting off like April, like it might even be this week, like it literally might have. Yeah, like I touched down in LA on 420, but I'm trying to think when I got. I'm trying to think when I got off probation. It might have been like the 17th of April or some shit. And then 3 days later, I booked a flight and I was down out here. And
this is what year?
2017. And it was fucking awesome. I remember I moved in with my bro, who I went to college with, who had let me like stay at his crib for a period of time in Miami when I was there, who was my brother Tyler, and he was living in West Hollywood. He was like doing some online editing stuff, and he had a roommate in West Hollywood, so I came out here, nearly just crashed there. I had a bunch of money, just had no idea what to do. I'm in West Hollywood, no idea. I ended up like meeting a girl, which I usually do really fast, unfortunately, and then like kind of chilling with her. And then I remember that the month after I came, my bro was like, I'm gonna leave the country. And I'm like, shit, awesome, bro, but let me figure out what I'm gonna do and shit. So I just remember when I came, like when that happened, not being sure what to do and still not wanting to commit to anything. So I remember I was with this girl, we were fucking like falling in love and shit, and she wanted me to stay at her crib and shit. She's like, come stay. So I remember for the summer, I stayed at her crib in Silver Lake, and it was cool. Like, I feel like I learned a lot about LA. Like, she was like very spiritual too, so, and at the time I wasn't like that, you know, the fucking crystals, chakras, and just everything, and just being aware of everything. And so that was an awesome time. We got into a little situation too where I feel like, I don't want to say all women lie, but yeah, it was a little situation where we got into a beef where I had to dip, right? So I remember a friend of mine, Craig, that also lived out here, a friend from University of Miami, who was probably at the time my only other person out here in life that I knew that was like my fucking age, really. So he hooked me up with these guys that were running a clothing brand, and they had a mansion in fucking Sherman Oaks. So they had a huge crib, similar like to New Jersey and shit. So I'm like, bet. Like, I just kind of came from a similar situation. I'm a bachelor. I'm like,
well, I like mansions.
Yeah, I was like, how old was I? 27, 28. So it was like, fuck yeah. They're influencers and shit too. So they had a bunch of different like people coming through the crib, whether it be Instagram models, whether it be parties at night, whether it be celebrities doing random different stuff pulling up. And I remember having like a section of the house that was kind of closed off. But I was still going back and forth with that girl. And at the time, she ran a production studio downtown LA. Huge spot, 6,000 square foot. She
had a boyfriend that they were doing parties before, but then she would just do bookings, or she would book it out to major brands, whether it be Adidas, clothing companies, fashion shows, all like literally anything, events and shit. So I had that going on at the house, and I also had that going on with my girl, and she wanted me to be more a part of that shit, and they also wanted me to be more a part of the house. So at the end of the day, I was still handling weed, so my money was good. I learned how to do that a long time ago, so I was always able to do my own thing and float. We were talking about earlier how I don't need things. Like, I told you about the fire I had in my crib, and like, I think after that I learned a lot, and I learned to be humble and to appreciate the small things and appreciate pieces. So I like to bounce around. Like, I like changes and doing weird stuff and putting myself in uncomfortable situations. So I very much so enjoyed being at the house, but I just realized a lot of the people, like, they wanted to keep me small. Like, they wanted to use me for the crib, and they didn't like the way I was, like, helping out my girl, too, to book clients. And then also, I was the only one actually paying rent. And that's when I learned a lot about people in LA, like the influencers, and no matter how many followers you got, you could have a popping, you could be making thousands of dollars on a business. That doesn't mean you're paying people or paying your bills. Like, it's just all this different stuff. Now, I later learned how the company, like, literally was, like, taking orders. They made those backwoods shirts that were popular years ago in LA. But I remember they were taking a bunch of orders from people, not sending out product. They were getting sued. There was a bunch of crazy stuff.
Shit.
And then they were mad at me because I wasn't around. I'm like, guys, I'm paying rent. Like, what are you mad at me about? So it ended up being a small situation where, you know, they just didn't really want me around. So I was like, cool. My girl wanted me to go help out with her spot. She literally also convinced me, because she was moving out of her place in Silver Lake. So she was like, yo, let's move downtown. We could, like, start doing events. We could build this business together. And she was older than me. And at the time, I don't know, I've definitely dated a lot of older women. But, I mean, we all deal with our childhood trauma. So I had to, like, learn why that was and all that weird stuff. But she was older than me. I liked that she had a business. She was making money. I was making money too. So it made sense. We had like minds. I saw her vision. She saw my vision. We saw we could work together. So we were literally living in this 6,000 square foot spot, downtown LA, those vintage, old school windows and shit that you see, chicks taking pictures with, and fucking all their fucking fashion fabrics and shit. One of those. She just got blessed with this spot, and the rent was super expensive, like $5,000, $6,000 a month or some shit. So it was important for her to keep making money. So I would come in and I started helping her with ideas. I brought in my friend Craig that I mentioned that was out here because we used to do events in Miami. So we started like trying to do our own in-house events and doing dope stuff. Like, at that time, I probably did some of the dopest shit I've ever experienced. Like, I remember when I was in Miami, like, I met Ludacris. I remember I pulled up to clubs in Phantoms. I've been in penthouses. I have been in video shoots. But at the end of the day, if it's not your own baby, you're not running the shit, it's always different. If you're a worker, if you're there, or like you're kind of experiencing it. I just remember like that space, like being in charge of that space and running things and just like having some awesome moments. Like, I remember like it was 6,000 square foot, but there were 3 back rooms. And I remember Post Malone, like his people, like him needing to rent out an art studio for his side chick or something that was out here. So him and his manager,
this is the back to the space downtown.
Okay. So him hitting up my girl to fucking rent out the fucking room, and him coming through and linking us up and being so, you know, thankful. And that's what I'm saying. It's like I'm not a fucking dick rider of celebrities and shit like that. I've never been that way. I try to look at everybody as regular people, and I feel like people in high places, they appreciate that anyway. So I appreciate that when celebrities or people in high places act that way as well. And I just felt like I just had so many genuine connections of meeting people on equal levels of how we can help each other. Because that's why I liked weed. I liked because like you bring people together from different places, and you know, no matter who you are, it's like cocaine or whatever the fuck. Like, no matter who you are, you can be in Miami. No matter who you are, no matter how many bottles you have in the club, if you don't have weed or the plug, like you need that. Like, that's a necessity type shit, you know. So it's kind of like an equal exchange. I don't want to say power thing, but yeah, you like have some type of power, control when you have a substance that people want.
Cocaine's a little worse though, just because. I mean, that's just it's dirty, man. That drug is. Just the experience itself, to me, in my experience, doing coke is just like, fuck. Why did I do that? It's never. You always just want more, and it just to me promotes kind of like. It just it's an ego inflator, whereas weed is kind of a humbler.
Yeah, for sure. Different. I was only saying that to like, because you see the movies where chicks. How they are with people that have certain things, so it's kind of like that at the end of the day. But when I was holding the spot, like I said, we would do a lot of our own in-house parties. So I remember like doing an event with like P. Diddy's son. I remember at the time my favorite basketball player was Russell Westbrook, and he's originally from LA.
Did P. Diddy's son play at USC or no? Was it Master
LeBron
P?
James?
No, earlier.
P. Diddy's son.
P. Diddy's son. I think it was Master P's son, maybe. Anyway.
Yeah, Lil Romeo.
Is that Lil Romeo, Master
P's
son?
Yeah.
He played at USC, right?
I think he might have, but I don't remember because I only associate him with the AC/DC that commercial. But anyway, long story short, I just remember having like some of the most awesome experiences in the entertainment, like. And that's what I went to school for. That's what I thought I wanted. I was running my own events. I was also doing cannabis events. Like, and then too, like, Russell Westbrook, my favorite player at the time, I remember his mom booked our space. And she, like, came through and, like, met us and shit. I'm like, awesome. Just for an event, to throw her own event. Because literally it was just a big space that we would rent out and people would bring their own stuff and do whatever the fuck they want.
So that $5,000 is paying off.
Yeah, literally bookings, like we would get big checks for that shit.
What do you charge Russell Westbrook's mom to have a party for the night?
I remember, I feel like she might have paid maybe around like $2,000.
Damn.
And then she paid with all her own stuff because we have to hire people. We would have our own pitch where we have bodyguards and stuff for security to run it, like everything in house. We would try to do it. Yeah. So I remember she threw an event and Russell Westbrook came through, and I just remember like being like, man, me and my favorite player, like him, like being cool and shit. Then I remember they liked our space so much that she rented the studio across from us.
Okay.
To do the same thing as us. And I'm like, Russell Westbrook's mom. Russell Westbrook just got $100 million something a year before. Russell Westbrook's mom sees potential in what we do this much, where she's literally like replicating.
Oh, she got one herself.
Yeah, and like started trying to do the same thing as us across. And I say that to say I would also get to do my own events there, right? So I did a lot of cannabis events. We do a lot of like they call them taco sessions, where people from a bunch of different places just bring their products and people like walk through and buy black market stuff. But it was awesome. We get paid fucking $1,000, $1,500 a day by the promoter, and they just let people come and we just rack those shits up, bro. So that shit was nice. Taco sessions. Yeah, that's what they're called.
And that gets sent out of state? Is that what the black market is now?
Well,
or is there
I feel like people. There's a black market in state, but yeah, a lot of the black market's sending stuff out of state because it's California at the end of the day. So people go to those taco sessions to get stuff for cheap, more than likely to send stuff out, or they're usually visiting town or just black market. You want better prices and shit. Yeah. So I remember, like I said, I just remember being at the peak of like, man, like this is awesome. But I just remember still not being happy. I remember needing another knee surgery also. I remember when I first started coming out here, I was doing little like bookings where I was doing like basketball shit. I was very much in shape. So I remember I did like a Mountain Dew commercial, some other shit. And then I remember doing like a movie, Venice Beach. It was like Chris Brown and Nick Cannon, some like basketball themed movie. So I remember I was like very much like active with what I was trying to do, just career. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't really care about money. I just wanted to be myself and see where I could end up. And I made the Venice Beach basketball team one summer when I was staying at the place downtown. And I hurt my wrist and I hurt my knee. And I thought I needed something done on my wrist.
Venice Beach basketball team?
Venice Beach, the VBL. It's like every summer they have a whole like tournament. And a bunch of different teams that play at Venice Beach on those courts. So
So it's like a
bro.
legit organized
Yeah,
tournament.
it's fucking dope, bro.
So
I'll
as far
send you the.
Dude, how did that happen? How'd you make the team? Just playing down there?
They had like a tryout and shit.
Oh, they have a
too.
tryout. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, and I just remember when I played in the movie, I remember going out there and just seeing the vibe, and then hearing about the fucking shit, and then going there and like playing and like actually playing well and shit. It was
But that's fun as fuck.
Yeah.
But it's right there outdoor on the beach.
Yeah.
How do you
bro.
shoot threes?
I don't know. It's perfect, bro. It's perfect.
There's no way.
We gotta go. See, now we got stuff that we could do together. Cause
For sure.
real,
I've been down to that court. Yeah. I've been down to that court a bunch of times. I've never played though.
Hell yes.
I can play basketball for sure.
It's
I've never.
so much fun, bro. Some awesome games. But I remember right after I made the team, I go play at a LA Fitness. Some guy that has his ego undercuts me like while I'm in the air, and I hurt my wrist and my knee.
Fucking A.
So I'm thinking my wrist is hurt more, but they're like your knee, your meniscus, blah blah blah. So I'm like, all right. I think I'm like 28. I'm like, yo, I could get this shit now and be back. They're like, it'll be quick. You'll be back in no time. I'm like, yeah, blah blah blah. I asked my girl, I'm like, all right, if I get this surgery, I'm gonna be down for a period of time. Like, just hold me down while I get right, blah blah blah. So I get the surgery. I remember like in August or something like that. I have to spend like 6 weeks in this fucking basically a long ass rehabilitation. So I go through all this stuff with my girl. We make it up until around the time we're having these weed events and shit. I rehab, and we have a falling out with one of the cannabis people that we were having taco sessions with, right? Because the building was getting complaints about all the weed, like for the other clients and shit. And then just because weed is still legal,
during the events?
weed is still legal. Yeah, bro.
So there's like massive
Bro,
hot box.
it's literally like bro, like circles, right? And just people with these and tables set up, selling shit and smoking the whole time. We got little sections and shit.
That's awesome.
And it's still illegal to do that. Like, they're illegal things. Like, you can't do it. So we heard about them getting stopped, and that's why they have them at places where they do it until they get shut down and they go to another place.
Right.
Keep doing it. See how much money you can make. They don't even care. They get in trouble or how much losses because they made enough money. So I remember we had to cut off ties, and then I remember Russell Westbrook's mom decided to take our client, right? That was doing the weed stuff. And I'm like,
shit.
I'm like, whatever, you know.
Wait, was she was hosting taco sessions?
She decided to host a taco sesh, right? It might have been 420 as well. Like, it might have been 420 wheat because we were eating 420, and they, you know, cops are smart. They like know when the big event is to crash and shit. So I think she like took them for 420. And I remember like her spot got raided and shit.
No.
Yeah, and it was like, yo, God has this way of like showing you, bro. Like, it was like, all right, we not doing no more weed stuff ever. It was like, and two, like you said, I would have people that would come into town and buy weed and shit and do that stuff. And I remember I was doing some of that shit out of her spot, and it just showed me, like I said, life has its way. And I'm like, yo, I gotta stop doing this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm better. I'm trying to like get myself into a different space and shit. So then as that started happening, me and her kind of fall out and shit.
The girl.
Yeah, we would always kind of have beef and stuff. She was dealing with some trauma and shit that we couldn't get over. She was always accusing me of stuff. It was a weird situation. But during that time as well, we decided to, towards the end, before we broke up, we decided to try to get more spaces. So we got a small studio downtown, like a cheap one, because we would have all those events at the spot, but we would be sleeping in this back room, and sometimes we'd have events after hours, so 5 a.m. and we want to fucking sleep, and you can't. You feel me? So we got a little trap spot. It was like maybe like $1,000, maybe like 2 blocks away. So we go there and sleep. Trapped it out. It was nice. Then we decided to get another spot and rent out in Koreatown. Because we were making great money, and like I remember that year, it was an amazing time because everything's in seasons also with businesses as well. So I remember we were making good money, so we got another spot in Koreatown that was a nicer pad. So we would spend our spots Airbnb-ing out the Koreatown spot, peer spacing, selling out the spot downtown, and then mainly staying in the spot, the trap spot downtown. And I would mainly stay at this trap spot too because I would be able to handle business there. It was a low-key building, old building. And I'll be able to just smoke there. The spot in Koreatown was like a smoke-free building where we were like actually getting in trouble for smoking, bro. Like it was I was like, life is just changing, you know? And at the end of the day, I feel like, I don't know, at the time I was very, I don't know, bougie or whatever. Like, it was nice to have me and my girl have some space too, have our separate space and then space away from the business. So it was a decent time. But then when it ended, I had a lot of money tied up in the company.
You had 3 rentals.
Yeah.
In and of itself.
Yeah. But then mainly too, it was like, all right, you could take the crib that you like, I'll take the trap spot, but still it was like there was money from like events and like invested in the spot and shit. So it got really weird, and you learn a lot about people, especially in LA when it comes to money and stuff. And yeah, I just feel like I had somebody like really try to fuck me over. So I learned a lot about that through her. But I had my spot downtown. I had a trap spot. It was like cool. Something came out of it. I was doing events. I learned that I liked what I was doing, but I didn't love that shit. And like I was saying, I felt like I was at the top of like the entertainment where I wanted like that equal, you know, ish of like where, you know, and it didn't mean shit to me. Like, I didn't care. And my girl loved it. Like, that's all she wanted in her life was like to be established and have a name and like have a company that was running and stuff. And I had my own company. Like, my dad taught me a lot about business and how to do stuff. So I learned how to run a legal business and all that good stuff as well during the same time. It helped her like learn how to do paperwork, but it just wasn't it. And then I was still dealing with the knee injury, right? So after the knee injury, I was lost. I remember waking up and the fucking surgeon like talking to the nurse being like, I don't know if this motherfucker's gonna be alright and shit. Like waking up into hearing that, right? And then
your knee?
Yeah, it's a meniscus repair, right? And I remember being like, oh, I thought it was gonna be like some routine shit. And he was like, nah, that was like the worst meniscus repair I've ever seen, blah blah blah. Tells me how my rehab's gonna be longer. So I was lost after my girl, and that played a part in the not being happy in that peak too, because I was injured and my health was always the most important thing to me. All I cared about was being active. All I wanted. I don't care about money. All my money went to supplements, gym stuff, like all that stuff. If you see people make fun of me all the time, like even I think of my bro Gio, where he's always like, you have all these gadgets, and I just remember that's all I spend my money on is taking care of myself and my health, and like trying to be a good athlete and shit. So and I remember at the time, right before my surgery, I was at my peak. Like, I was coming down from 200 pounds. I think I remember the day when I hurt my knee where I was fucking deadlifting 500 pounds, fucking reps and shit, fucking trying to, like, show off at the fucking gym. And I remember at the time, my numbers, I hit the 1,000 club, 500 plus deadlift, 350 squat. My bench sucked, but it was still 250, so that was big. And I just wanted to keep that so much. And then it was a size thing too, because I came from being small, and then I saw what it was like to be big. I got up to 225 pounds.
Fuck.
And I was swole. Like, I was just like swollen.
Is this
like
all
powerlifting?
Is this all over-the-counter supplements?
Yeah, all fucking regular, and eating and tracking my macros.
Right.
I tracked my macros for 4 years when I was in New Jersey, and then a year when I was out here. But when you have a girlfriend, it's tough to do that shit, because goddamn, they would eat you. But it was hard work. Like, I stood, like, my workouts, like, people back home, they know, like, that's why I can't wait till, like, things start intertwining, because people have seen the work that I put in and dedication, and it's awesome to see that it paid off, because I never knew. Like, it's just what I do. And I just would feel how people would look at me when I'd be big. Like, I remember at events, like, I'll tell you one quick story. Like, so my girl, she was attractive, right? Latina, business, people love that shit. So I would have people coming and want to do business with my girl because she's my girl, she's attractive and shit. Same thing with real estate. You know, people fuck with real estate agents because of whatever. So I would have so many guys coming in there trying to fucking bag her or trying to, like, take her or swindle her for business. And, oh, man, just stresses me out all over again. But, so I just remember this one time, this owner of a strip club, right?
Think about that as, yeah.
Owner of a strip club comes, and this fool, I guess he, like, came one night when I wasn't there because I was still always training and shit.
You're fine. Come on.
So, came during one night when I was there, and when I wasn't there, and had a meeting with her, and, like, came and tried to do, how you doing? The whole, like, bring bring a big bag of cash and like show off and like do all that. So she
Is this
tells
coming
me,
into the downtown spot?
yeah, downtown spot or whatever. We had our meetings there or whatever. We had a little lounge room, green room. So she tells me or whatever. So I'm like, all right, no deal was made. He hasn't confirmed anything. He just basically came to show off the night before. That he liked her. So he was like, you want to come back again? So second night I'm there and he's surprised. So he's like, oh, all right, whatever. He's not showing off anything anymore, all this stuff. He's like kind of trying to do business, but not, because basically he was just pump faking in the first place and shit. But he was a real businessman. Like, you know, I can't really, you know, hate on him. But long story short, I just remember this guy, like literally like sizing me up, like staring at me so hard, because it's me, him, and my girl, and he's like looking at me like fuck, like, and he literally says out loud like, bro, like, yo, I think you could take me, bro, like. He was like, your shoulders are kind of wide, like genuinely, bro. It was the weirdest thing I ever experienced. He was like, damn, like his shoulders is kind of wide, like blah blah blah. And I was just like, bro, what? And I remember my girl being like, yes, like loving that shit. And I just remember being like people, like, not only do they look at you, like it's just a thing, it's a human thing. So when I was hurt, I lost that, you know. Like I felt, how you doing, brother? It's okay. I just felt like I just needed that back. So I was trying so hard to stay big that it worked against me, you know? Like, my body was messed up. So that's when I was like,
did you lose a lot of weight?
No, I kept gaining weight too. Because I was like,
bad weight?
Yeah, because I was injured and my body wasn't healthy. So I was like, I was morphing my body without letting it heal. I'm like going on hiking trips in Hawaii, hiking up, just doing terrible stuff to my body because I have a problem. I can't help but not training is bad for my mental health. So
were you lifting weights?
Yeah, I was just being so stupid, bro. And I got so swollen that I was just like, I like literally, you morph your body in the wrong way. So
were you not doing PT or anything?
I was, but I feel like PT is so old that like they have you doing stuff that like isn't it. And that's when I got into the knees over toes guy stuff and all that other weird shit. But I just remember that's when I got into Kung Fu. I was like, all right, man. I remember being at the spot downtown, like living off just trapping or whatever. I'm like, all right, I got money. My credit was good. I had my business and shit, business credit. So I was like, all right, I'm going to get a nice whip. Before that, I remember I was borrowing my boy Tyler's whip when he left the country. He had a Passat that he left out here that he needed taken care of. So I was driving that, and I had an Acura TL back in New Jersey because I wanted to be cool and have two whips and shit, like a fucking piece of shit. Stupid, wasting money. So
they were just sitting there?
Yeah, I would let my mom use it and stuff too, and like little stuff, but it was my baby too. I love that. I would get another one any day. But I remember I didn't have a whip for a period of time. I was just doing rentals and shit when I just had the spot, which is cool for me. Just enterprise, building on my points, just getting different cars, not caring. But I'm like, all right, Kung Fu. My bro came from New Jersey. He was looking up spots. He had training in New Jersey. We went to one spot. It was closed. We found another random spot, young guy, Michael Yano, outside spot, and he also had a gym. He had a spot like at his crib and a gym. So I remember we go there, and I immediately just fall in love with the guy. Mike's an awesome guy. He's around my age. He's a year older than me, so, you know. And he had fought some MMA, but he was like a Kung Fu based, but he was a wrestler growing up, studied Sambo.
How'd you find this guy?
Online, I think. I don't know. My bro found it. I was just going for the ride. Okay. So probably online somewhere. And this was before COVID too, so this is when shit was good.
You just wanted to, what was the impetus for getting into martial arts? Like what?
I just wanted to heal.
Okay.
I was just tired of the injury. I was like, man, I need to get back into...
How long after the surgery?
A year.
Okay.
So a year after, it was like, let's fucking do this shit. So we find him, and my bro's just visiting. So he leaves, and I'm like, I'm going to stay going with Mike. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to get a car. So I got an Audi. I was like, get a nice car, white car. So I don't like white, but I'm going to be weird, do stuff weird. It's LA. So I get a fucking a white Audi and shit. I'm like, all right. I plot out exactly how many miles it's going to be to go back and forth to Mike's training in the morning and at night. I literally plan it out for the year. Like, literally, like, miles, food, like, everything, like... So I just start, and I start going to this fucking guy's house at 10 a.m. to 12, and then what was it, 6 to 8 maybe or some shit at his little dojo gym and shit in Van Nuys, and
Twice a day.
Yeah, twice a day, 5 days a week. I think sometimes Saturdays too, Saturday mornings, and I think the twice a day, 3 times a week, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or something like that, and then just mornings, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. But I was there. I was dedicated. I just remember being so lost that I was just willing to just. And Kung Fu is one of those things that it's not like today where it's like motherfuckers like Pereira getting their black belts after the fights. I don't know. I just thought that was funny. But like, yo, those Kung Fu,
was weird, right?
Those Kung Fu, what's up?
How was that guy's been doing jiu-jitsu for like 5 years?
Yeah, definitely not long enough. But
Okay.
But either way, it's like, yo, those people, it's so subjective too that like they spend years of people like telling them that they ain't shit, like they suck, like no, you're not good. Like you see those martial arts movies where the masters are like, you have not like they tell their students like they give them shit, you know. So I just remember coming back from injuries where my body was lost. I had no sense of everything. I felt like I had a bad surgery. I remember after just being like, what the fuck? And I had to just take it like every day, just go there, like. And he was so awesome where he just planted so many awesome seeds. And I think this is a good thing about coaches, where they can say stuff to you without saying stuff directly to you. Where their lessons that they're saying, you know, they're about you. Even sometimes even jabs, you know, like you know they're about you, but they're not directing them at you. So it tests your way you perceive things as well, and how you know, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of deep stuff in that. So I spent I think it was like a year and a half just doing that, bro. I remember just trapping, still making money, doing Kung Fu, traveling. That's when I went to Paris. I think that was when I went to Turks and Caicos for my bro's wedding. Like I said, I did Hawaii, not too, I think before the Kung Fu, but similar. It was just like, I was just having fun, man, being active. I had money.
Training, trapping, traveling.
Yeah.
TRs.
That's all I ever wanted to do anyway, man. I'm not a working out. I was never a 9 to 5 guy. I'm not good. I was never good at knowing I had to be somewhere at a certain time too. So that's why martial arts helped me as well. I had to learn how to be on time and shit, like discipline and all that weird stuff. And that was big for me in Kung Fu. Because, I remember, I used to think it was cool to be late.
Discipline and weird stuff.
I used to think it was cool to be late. Pull up late. And people sometimes get perceptions of you because of things. And, you don't realize that until you realize that. You know, so...
On the other end, it's perceived as disrespectful.
Yeah, so, I just had to learn so many things. And I always told him that I wanted to fight, right? So, his style was mixed martial arts. We did everything from jiu-jitsu, boxing, Kung Fu based, sambo, weapons, bro. We were just...
This guy was just like a ninja.
Yeah, yo, literally from a ninja family,
What is Kung Fu?
It's
Kung
Wing
Fu
Chun, right? And it's it starts from China. Everybody hears about Bruce Lee and shit. And it's it started as a self-defense style, where it was formed by women, actually, because they needed to learn how to fight against bigger opponents. So they learned how to use the body structure to create different movements to help them do that, you know? And people have different approaches, and it's kind of changed. I feel like my guy, I don't even know how to explain it. We have a different energy about how we do our form, the direction of which, but it's basically about, self-defense and being able to go against bigger opponents, close range combat. It's very good for close range trapping, using your opponent's energy against you, all that little stuff. It's awesome. So then when you're learning that with the other techniques, it just, I don't know, it just added a completely different approach to everything. I don't know, it just it was awesome, down to from the form that we do, learning the form, how to relax, and then seeing how that translates over to jiu-jitsu. People think I have great jiu-jitsu. People that grapple with me, they're like, oh my god, how long you been grabbing me? Are you a brown belt? I'd be like, no, I just did Kung Fu and I know how to relax, and my weight distribution and all that weird stuff. And you know, people don't believe it, but it's all from that. Like, literally, like, you have people telling you for years that you're not doing it right, and you're like, I'm doing it. They're like, I can still see you. Can you see me right now being tense? You can't, but they can, and they tell you for years that you're not doing it right.
So Kung Fu is almost like more of like a mindset. It's almost like a mindset or mental discipline almost.
Mental discipline.
I feel the same way about yoga, and I get similar comments in jiu-jitsu, and I attribute to yoga as well. Like, how are we doing this? And it's a mindset. It's an ability with yoga specifically to maintain your breath, composure, understanding. Yeah,
structure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You have different forms, you know what I'm saying, that provide certain things. It's all the same thing. Understanding the body structure and then utilizing it for certain things. And I just fell in love, man. I remember just watching all the Kung Fu movies and all that and just trying to make it my own. And it's the same thing with music that I used to feel like. They used to always try to make me be someone else. Like, it was always like, mimic someone else. Go to school, be like this. Like, play like this person. And that's why even with some martial arts, it's like, you want to be Muay Thai, you have to do your Muay Thai kick, your Muay Thai step, your Muay Thai stance. This and that. Sambo, this. It's the jiu-jitsu sweep. You want to have good form. But it's like MMA, bro, like, it's fucking everything. It's no, like, style or, like, you're not trying to be. It's all about how you mix it up. And I felt the same way about Kung Fu. Like, you think about Kung Fu, like, Kung Fu happens on the street. It wasn't a cage thing or like a ceremonial thing. It's like you see Jackie Chan or one of these motherfuckers in the street, some shit pops off and he's using everything around him to fight 4 different people, and like, it's very street. Like, I would always joke to my Sifu and shit about how when he would come in like some denim jeans and like a black jacket and some black kicks, like that's Kung Fu, because it's like it's just very like different. It's a different style, and I just think, I don't want to say bad boy style, but it's like it's just not, I don't know.
It's not rules or necessarily rules based. It's a little, I don't know, counter rules, like a little bit countercultural element to it. I know it's discipline, but it's like not following an explicit rule set.
Like, they do, but it's just different. I don't know. It just gives me a certain vibe. It's not tradition. Muay Thai happens in the ring and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have music. They have come out. They wear headbands and shit to come out. Like, it's not that shit. You feel me? Like, so yeah, I just like that. And but
it does incorporate kicks and punches, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of different things, a lot of movements, and it's crazy. A lot of the weird stuff that I do still to this day are from it. Like your hand fighting, like your blocks, like your trapping. How do you use people's momentum, like your swipes, like everything is body structure also. So, and just like, I feel like it's just like religion. It's like how you take something and you make it your own in the retrospect to the times you live in. So I feel like I did a good job of taking the seeds that he planted with Kung Fu and making them my own. So I say that to say, like, we would do some rolling and shit. And I remember we would have some people come in from jiu-jitsu gyms, and I'll never forget my first time rolling. I rolled with my coach, and I remember doing well and shit. I remember doing jiu-jitsu drills, like, fuck, I hurt my neck, like, what the fuck? Doing all the rolls. But I remember the first time I rolled with somebody that was, like, a blue belt. And I remember I tapped him from, like, pressure or something. And I remember him getting up, and he was like, "You're the strongest guy I ever fucking rolled with." And I was just like, I was 190 pounds. I was still big, but like I said, I was lost. My body was lost. I come down from 200 something pounds, so I knew I was strong. But yeah, like, just getting that, I'll never forget that day.
Your first roll ever?
My first roll ever. A blue belt guy tapped pressure or something, and bigger than me, 180, long guy. Think of this today, great jiu-jitsu body, and yeah, I just will never forget that. What's up? And that, like, kind of showed me, it was like, all right, maybe I'm doing good at this shit. And then I remember one day sparring with my coach and shit, and he's an Asian guy, maybe like 5'11", fucking dense hands, but we have completely different body types. I'm like really long and shit. He's a wrestler. So I remember us sparring, and we didn't train with gloves. Like, I didn't train for gloves for like 2.5 years and shit. We were just hitting rocks on fucking wood and literally rocks and weird stuff. So I remember him wanting to spar and him being like, all right, I'll wear gloves and you don't wear gloves, Khalil. And I'll be like, you sure, brother? Like, you know, like, you sure you want to do that? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And I remember like first time we sparred, I made him bleed. I was like hitting him a lot. So I remember that too was like, it showed me like, yeah.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
All right, what's possible?
Yeah. Great timing.
You can get there, but yeah, let's start.
All right, we're back. Round 3 of the Khaleel Pearson interview. Put those on if you want to. I don't know if it makes a difference. I'm a novice at all this. And I want to pick up where you left off yesterday about Kung Fu and who taught you Jiu Jitsu. But you were just saying that, someone's going to hear this in there, that you took a year off of women
Yeah.
to train when you first started training
When I
women.
started the Ultra program, what was it, July?
Been thinking about this.
2022. I was still working for this cannabis company, and I told you we'll get to that too. But I was like kind of given a choice where, well, first I just started working, and it was so intense where I was working these crazy hours to just come here for the first week or two, and then after that second week, he told me I got hit with this ultimatum where it was like, yo, we're closing our LA office and we're moving our office or we're just using our office in the IE, and you have to move out there or just commute all the way out there every day from LA. And it was like, and they're like, we need you to do that in like 2 weeks. And it was like, I could either do that and not do the Ultra program, or just commit to the Ultra program.
And the Ultra program was here in
No way to
Burbank.
make it continue to work. I did it for 2 weeks, and it was killing me. It was already too much, and I just knew that there was no way for that. And I chose to fucking just stick with the Ultra program. So I remember that 2 weeks kind of jump started. Like, I had no time. I had my dogs, and my dogs are awesome. I love them. They take a lot of my time. Sometimes I honestly say since I don't have my dogs right now, I don't know if I just miss them or if I want a girlfriend. Like, I don't know. But either way,
Wait, you talking about dogs?
my dogs in general.
Okay.
Because I don't have them, like I don't know if I like want a girlfriend or if I just miss my dogs. But anyway, I just remember training and just starting that process and just being so beat up at first. Like I remember those first few weeks, like every day coming home like fucking scabbed up and like just worn out. Like I went from like driving and just chilling. I was always training, but I wasn't doing that like grappling, fucking Muay Thai, all that shit.
Hold on, let me stop you right there. So this is Alta. This is right when you're gonna begin Alta, Kung Fu training and sparring bare knuckle with your Kung Fu trainer. What year is that around?
This is 2019, 2020,
And you started Alta when?
2022.
Okay.
Right? Let's see. Wait, is it 20? Yeah, 2022. Holy shit.
2022.
Yeah.
And here we are in April of 2024. So 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. And then so all told, at this moment you have what, 4 years of martial arts
Yeah,
experience?
4 years.
Okay.
Plus like the bullshit boxing, but like coached 4 years. And I just remember just being like just so locked into that. Like I remember falling in love with that, and I've been there at times too where I've just been so caught up with the women in my life and how that, we talked about it before, how just that attention takes up so much from you. And especially like dating here in LA, like sometimes you deal with people that are just shit that you can't even make up in a fucking book.
Yeah, not super stable.
Yeah, so
Takes up so much time and energy, man.
yeah, so I literally was like, yo, I'm gonna just stay away. Like I was gonna do my best. So I remember being like pursued. Then I remember even after my first fight I won in January. So we had a 5-6 month camp. I remember like lasting that shit, like abstaining, like staying away. I remember I had my first fight and I won the first fight and I won it in like the first round and shit. So then of course what comes with the win, you start getting that love and blah blah blah. So I remember getting pursued. I remember getting pursued by women that like I was just pursuing that didn't hit me up, blah 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 blah. So that was another like test and shit. But I was like, nah, like, you preach those concepts in your head, like, yeah, I wanted somebody who was down with me before, blah, blah, blah. Like, you don't want somebody there with you just because you're winning. So I remember meeting this girl, I think online or something, and we had a friend in common, and I remember she just was so weird about this friend, and the friend that we had in common was another girl. So I just remember, long story short, that my friend that was the girl told me that this girl that I was talking to had a boyfriend, and this girl never told me, and like repeatedly went out of her way to avoid it. I would bring it up to her even after I knew. She fucking never did. So that was another test for me because I had problems with trust and shit. So I was like, all right, this girl probably won't be so pressured to like fucking be trying to like smash every weekend. She could be, because that's how the people cheat, but it was cool. We had like a different relationship. We were cool. We had like a fucking emotional relationship, and it was nice kind of having somebody there with me while I was training. And so then I had an injury, and then I had another fight in May. So I lost that fight, and I remember just her not coming and thinking like if she like thought anything or if I meant anything, she would have came. She didn't come. So then that closed me off even more to women for a little bit. And then I remember I did my move across the country for a little bit, and I was just in training mode. Like after you take that loss, like everything changes. Like everything changes. Like
How
my
so?
whole mindset, like just you're all about getting that next win. You're always thinking about what you did wrong, what you could have did better. Like people are judging you. People look at you differently after you lose. It's a real thing. So I was just so focused on getting back, especially after getting knocked out. It was like, yo, I was like so ready. So all I did was just train. I went across country. I was training. I was doing all this shit. I came back. I was in fight mode. Still had, this girl not come, make every excuse not to come. And then I lost that fight too. So that's when I really was just like, yo, I need to like really stop putting even more of my attention to even that. Like not necessarily women, but just like women that aren't serving me, aren't pouring back into me what I'm investing into them. And even though it was just emotional relationship, it was just like, yo, if I meant anything to you, you would care to go. So I got even more kind of locked down for a little bit. And long story short, one of my original teammates from Alta, who's a girl, would just see me like just not in my wince. And I would always just tell her before how I don't know, like when I took my break, I just felt like I didn't deserve because of like shit that happened in my past. Like I had my first love, my girl that took my virginity, like I had her pass away when I was 16. And I remember just always blaming myself because like I was the dumb kid that like broke her heart and shit. And like I remember like she was so like, we were just good. And then I like went to date the more popular girl, like one of those dumbass stories. And I remember breaking her heart. Then she like went to the wrong crowd, and not too long after she dies in a car accident, being in a car with some guy she shouldn't have been in the car with, and he survives. And it was just fucking sad. And I felt like that was like the only person that really understood me for a long time when I was younger. So that fucked me up. So like I said, coming back to this, like I just always felt like I didn't deserve like every relationship. I just still felt like whatever, because of what I did in the past. So I had a teammate tell me, be like, yo, you deserve it. Like, you got to stop beating yourself up one day. Like, you have to stop beating yourself up one day. So, then this year, not this year, but like October-ish, or no, maybe September, October, I started opening myself back up. And yeah, since then, it's been an interesting journey.
Whoa, so it was this past fall was when like you ended your celibacy.
Yep.
Wow.
This past fall.
Crazy.
And it wasn't easy. Like I remember I met a girl too, that person I'm talking to right now. But that we met instantly. I started talking to women and shit, and I started just like talk about the compatibility, like what women would make sense, like what women would understand this, like what lifestyles and shit. And I started testing that one. I started getting that love at a certain point, even though I always got love from women, but I started like really thinking about what made sense for right now. Like even if you're a doctor, you're thinking like what type of woman is gonna make sense, whatever. So I remember like talking to like girls in fitness and doing stuff like that, and like just not really like seeing the superficial stuff and like all that stuff. And then I had this girl come in and we met, and I remember us being like, oh yo, like we met the first night and we just like kind of fell, shit happens, kind of like really liked each other. And we were like, all right, we're gonna do a 3-day trial.
Oh yeah.
3-day trial. We go out every night for 3 nights, and yeah, then we decided to like just take the step and jump, you know. And this is crazy because, like I said, I just came from whatever celibate, whatever you want to call it,
period of celibacy.
yeah. So it was just interesting, and then we decided to be like, all right, we're gonna wait 30 days to have sex for
Whoa, okay,
so that was big. And I've done that in the past too, because sometimes, you know, when like you have such an attraction to girls, like, and you guys know that like sometimes it's nice to like play and tease for a period of time, and like that shit's awesome. So we did that. I feel like we made it for like a certain amount of months. Not even a certain amount of months, I'm sorry. Like a certain amount of weeks.
Okay.
But it was like just under 30 days, and like we ended up like breaking up too. So we ended up not.
Oh shit.
Then, yeah.
Okay. Damn.
So it's
probably
interesting.
for the best then.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting approach to take, because my mindset, and it sounds to me like your mindset typically is that, man, it's about the hunt, it's about the conquest. So the ultimate goal is to fuck. First date, whatever. That's the ultimate payoff of the situation. This last relationship I was in, you start to learn, especially if you extend yourself beyond your primary relationship, it's not that clear cut, it's not that easy. It's a lot of time and energy to invest, even if it is quote unquote a casual thing.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to hear. It sounds like have already turned the next chapter on the next level of the game, so to speak, as far as relationship is concerned, than I am. But I do think I'm there taking the next step. We were having a discussion outside before this that I think is kind of evidence that I am taking those next steps without getting into specifics.
Yeah.
You know, it's realizing that trying to fuck tonight or tomorrow, or making that the primary focus of your actions, it can complicate things. It can there's certainly drain you of your time and energy. It can, and then the biggest thing for me that was like a major blind spot that's not cool to have as you get more mature in life is the emotional impact it has on other people.
Yeah.
And so in the situation I was referring to earlier, a huge motivating factor for my decision making is like, dude, I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings or cause drama. It's like, is me busting a nut tonight really worth someone else's emotional complications for me, my time, my energy? Like, what? Let's be more long-term thinking, more mature about the decision making here, and doing something like a 30-day period of dating without fucking. That's like, it really puts you in a position where you really have to get to know this person.
Yeah.
It can potentially save you fucking 2 years of your life or whatever, because who knows, you start fucking right off the bat, that complicates your psychology. You start releasing oxytocin in your brain. You know, you start getting addicted to this person, so to speak, and then next thing you know, it wasn't really a good fit, and you wasted 2 years or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's not about making that the priority, like you said. Like you said, we're all about the hunt, but at the end of the day, like, the hunt should be looking for different things, not just that end result. You know? Just like we're martial artists, so when we're doing jiu-jitsu, like, there's so many intricate things that we're learning when we're flowing, when we're doing things. Like, it's not all about the submission, it's not all about the finish at all. So just having that mindset a little bit. And then and what's funny too is me and that girl later in time, we like like we have this chemistry where we were out at this fucking arcade in Burbank and shit. I still need to write them a review and talk shit, but we're in there, and like, she plays pool, right? Like, she's like really good at pool. It's crazy, and I'm good at pool. So we go to some arcade, like, we're gonna play pool. They have bowling there, blah blah blah. So we start playing pool. There are other couples there, a little section, blah blah blah. She pays, awesome. So, like I said, she's good. So first game, she's like hitting fucking tough shots, like
Behind the back and shit.
like not behind the back, but like banking shit, like off shit, like these tight windows, and like she's like beating me and shit, right? So she's fucking excited. We're having a good time, like actually playing, and there's couples like booed up, and they're not like playing, they're not good. And so we're just literally having a good time, like chilling. So we play like maybe 3 games and shit, and we're like genuinely playing pool, brother. Genuinely playing pool. And there's a point where we get tired in between, and we're deciding, and she like sits on the table, and I like give her a hug, and then we talk about what we're gonna do next. And she's like, I wanna go bowling. So we go back, I fucking get the pool balls back, I give it back to them. She pays for bowling and shit. We get our shoe size and shit. We go bowling in another section of the spot. We play literally to the last frame of this bowling game and shit. We're bowling, there are couples with kids there. We're having a good time, chilling. We're not, no PDA, we're not over kissing because there's kids by us. Yo, some guy, 3 people approach us like, we're gonna have to ask you guys to leave because they said you guys were fucking on the pool table. And we're like,
fucking on the pool
yeah,
table?
and we're like, and I'm like, what? Say that again, bro. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, they said you guys are having sex on the pool table.
What?
We're like, what are you talking about, or whatever? And it's like, there's this older white couple with their kids. They're over there. They're like, what? They've been so good here. Like, what do you mean? And we're like, what? We're just like in awe. And we're like, do you guys really want us to leave because you guys said we were having sex on the pool table? So in front of people, we were having sex. Like, and it was just so like crazy. And because too, we'd never even had sex. So it was just like, we're both like, what?
You should have said that to him. Like, dude, we have literally.
It was like it was a dope
crazy.
bonding moment for me and her too, because we both knew that shit, you know, and yeah, we ended up just leaving, you know, switching our shoes.
This authority together or whatever. This injustice.
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough being a black man in America. It was just like
There's probably someone complained that there's a black dude fucking some white dude
yeah,
or
like
whatever the
it's
ratio
crazy,
is.
yo.
Like, oh, there they are.
It's crazy, yo. But that was like honestly maybe 3-4 weeks ago, bro. Like,
Oh, really? That was that recently? Okay.
yeah, it was crazy, bro. So. Yeah, like sometimes you never know. You think people are fucking, they're not fucking this shit. You accuse people of fucking this shit. So the 30-day extended longer, of course, but yeah, random story, super random. I got stories, bro. That's stories.
All right, so Kung Fu. I was just asking you in the parking lot too. So we left off yesterday. Part 2 is now part 3, where you initially started training. That was with Kung Fu, and I was asking you specifically in the parking lot because you were talking about in preparation for your fight that you have this upcoming Saturday. And just a few days here, last night you were doing 10 rounds of no-gi rolling. And you've never taken like specific or that much specific jiu-jitsu. You've just kind of been training MMA from the jump, right? Essentially.
I took, MMA, where we would sometimes throw in jiu-jitsu during my Kung Fu days. Then when I started here, it was like straight into, oh no, there was a time too when I was doing CrossFit where I did try a month of the gi, because a friend of mine was doing CrossFit and he was a blue belt somewhere. So I remember just going and signing up.
Was that here in LA?
Yeah, it was in like Culver City or some shit. I forget the name because I didn't really like the gym. The coach is a hater. But I just remember going there and like doing really well off the rip too, and like doing well against brown belts. And I just remember
Interesting.
like them trying to the coach trying to make me sound like a spazzy white belt, but in reality I was just doing good against his belts and shit, and he didn't like that shit as a white
I've
belt.
had similar experiences. I will say though, with time, looking back on it, I definitely was more spazzy, but it does seem like, it's interesting doing this now in the gym, but whatever, speaking my mind, it does seem like there is a little bit of that response when you catch higher belts. It's like, quit being spazzy. It's like, bro, quit. You know,
like bro, I literally like he was just on top of me going crazy, and I just revert, you know. And, and then too, like I remember him specifically, like this is literally my first month of jiu-jitsu. Him like having me come to class. I would come from CrossFit training too, and so my muscles would be worn out. I'd be tired already. He would be like, you need to roll with me first before you roll with everyone else, and like to like kind of weaken me up or soften me up. And I was just like, this is kind of weird, bro. Like, and I was a bigger guy then too. I was 190. I remember that's when I still had my hair. That's when I actually had my hair, like some of my dreads pulled out when I was grappling there too. So that's when I like officially cut my hair off and shit too. So it was a big moment.
Oh, dudes grabbed it out. I get you. Sorry.
Yeah, it fucking happens. But so yeah, I had a month there. And
Wait,
then,
so basically Kung Fu, a month there,
and then Alta with Edson. Edson was the man. He's a good jiu-jitsu guy, but he also fought MMA, jiu-jitsu based style.
Yeah. Let me get some context here. So Alta is a program that like takes some people with no martial arts experience, right?
Exactly. Normally people with no martial arts experience,
and gives them like a 20-week training of mixed martial arts. So just throws them right into the fire, all martial arts mixed together.
Full camp, and then give them a fight.
Yeah, full camp, and then they could potentially have a cage fight at the end of that, which is crazy. I think that's the coolest thing ever. And that's how I found this gym, and really found martial arts really in general, was hearing about watching UFC, following UFC media, podcasts and shit, hearing about Alta through podcasts and media.
That's dope.
Looking into it. And at the time, Alta was the Legacy here, the gym that we train at, that we're sitting in right now, had an Alta program. I signed up for that. Edson was running it at the time. Edson is the coach you just referred to, the MMA coach of Alta. And then Edson had to leave. Right when I started, Edson had to leave. And then the Alta program just kind of morphed into what is now turning just to an MMA program, I guess, at Legacy.
Yeah.
And that's how I met you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that was... Okay, that's how you learn martial arts, right there.
Yeah, the Alta shit was dope because I remember I was looking for a MMA gym for so long, and I would only find Muay Thai, and like they wouldn't have listed programs everywhere, and I was just so lost. Like there's so many people I remember telling, even right before I found Alta, like being like, "Yo, I just need to do this. Like I need to do this after everything." So I found Alta on like Facebook, and I remember I wasn't one of the original group because people signed up weeks in advance and shit. And they had like a meet and greet beforehand and all that shit. Nah, I saw that shit on like a Sunday night or Saturday night. And it was like, maybe like a Thursday night. And they were like, oh, next week we start this whole program. You can get a fight at the end of it. And I was like, I get a fight? I get a fight? Sign up immediately, like wasted no time. So that was dope. So training with Edson was dope.
And at that point, it sounds like you had made the decision that you're going to kind of arrange your life around this.
Yeah.
Right? Not like arranging your life around work or whatever.
Yeah.
You had the flexibility in life to be like, okay, this can be my primary focus.
Yeah. So, but like I said, I was forced to because I did have a good job. I had this cannabis job that I literally was like my life dream to like get a legal cannabis job, like direct deposit, like racks every week, like chill, good relationship with the company. Doing? I was working for this company, Hyperwolf. And I remember just starting with them in LA. They were really small. It was like a delivery, but like a delivery where drivers are stocked up with product off immediately, and then they go out to different areas and basically just sell the product they have in these areas. Okay. So basically trapping and shit. Right. But yeah, it's like legal trapping. Right. So we would start out with certain cities and shit. And we have drivers go out and have their shit and fucking do it. And then it just blew up over time. And then this was during COVID. So people had all this expendable money, money from the government. So this shit blew up so fast. Like I literally watched the boss, a good guy that I genuinely like. It's tough being a boss. Like people don't give credit to how tough it is being a boss. Man. And I watched him just grow this thing that was already going on somewhere else, but just grow it so big, and it was awesome to be a part of. Like I genuinely loved it. Like my dream forever while I was trapping was just to get legal cannabis money, and I was still trapping at the time, but yeah, it was like I had it. Like I finally made that shit. It was good money. I had a crib. Like I had the dogs. It was like there, but they were like, you got to move to the IE. So I wasn't trying to do that. Like I could have done it like and just said fuck Alta and like moved out there and had a great life and just went into the fucking sunset. But I'm like, nah, like life isn't over for me right now. Like I could do that. Like I'm not the settler. Like I like change. Like a lot of people, they get their career, their job, and they're like settled. Like I knew I wasn't fulfilled, just like I knew I wasn't fulfilled with the entertainment shit. So I was like, this shit is fulfilling me. Meeting Edson. Then I would start doing the no-gi here. I would start doing the Muay Thai program as my body like allowed me to do that shit. So that also helped me, Professor Joey, those no-gi classes. And then, yeah, man, that's literally it. And it's crazy because every time I roll with anyone, people think I'm like this high belt. Like it's crazy, bro.
You have no belt essentially. You're a white belt. I
literally am a no stripe white belt, bro. It's crazy too when I roll with people and I sub them and shit, and then like we gotta go in line at the end. And they're like, "Oh no," and no geese, and they're like, "Oh no, come." And I'd be like, "Brother, I am at the end," and I'm a humble guy, so even if it's Muay Thai or whatever, just because if I'm not a part of the program, I'm gonna go to the end. Like this is not my world. Like this is y'all, baby. I'm coming. I respect you guys no matter what level for allowing me. And I think there comes with a special level of respect with that too, because I'm not in this for the ego. Like I'm not in this for the belts. Like I do think now that I'm 4 years in, that I do want to start leveling up, and I joke about it with my coach, and he gives me shit about it all the time because I'm always like, "Where's my blue belt?" Or like after my fight, have a blue belt ready for me. Like, but
is that how it works? Because like,
no, it's not. I thought that's how it worked for so long.
Did we talk about this the other day with Poetan getting his black belt?
Yeah, so I thought that's how it worked forever, but my coach was like, "No, it's not how it fucking works." And I'm like, "Oh shit!"
I mean, a blue belt in MMA, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, like if I get a submission, if I get like 3 subs in a row, like give me a belt. Like why? Because I feel like in jiu-jitsu, if you win a competition, you can get bumped up. I think that's a rule. Like you don't have to have stripes if you win a competition as a belt or some shit. That's what I read. I don't know.
I don't know either, dude. I just keep showing up.
But I think like it's just awesome to not have an ego with it, but I do now want to start leveling up because I think there's a level of respect that comes with that where not even where you expect it from other people, because that's what we talk about all the time, how people with higher belts, they just expect other people to. But it's just, you just know, just like when you see a fitness dude that's huge, like you're not just given that shit, even though you can be, but you're like, it's something that was earned. Like they spend time. Like even if you're not good, you don't even have to be good, but the time you spent on the mats is just 100%. Something to be praised.
100%.
So I just think that would be awesome.
That's a great point.
And I also want to start getting my ass kicked more, because I do so well in nogi. Like I go and I when I cross train, I'll roll with a few people, and then like the coaches and the higher belts see me like fucking smashing them, and they want to like send me a lesson, and I go and I roll with them, and I'm like almost subbing them, and I'm like having a good time, laughing in their face, singing the songs and shit. They're like, what the fuck? And
I like to do that. I do the same shit, man.
It's crazy. It's a vibe.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've been here long enough. I can dance and sing song. When there's a good song coming on, I'm gonna sing. I'm gonna do a dance. And I'm not trying to disrespect anybody. I'm trying to have fun.
And that shows you're coming from a certain place,
Yeah. I try to smile and laugh as much as I can. I go hard at the same time, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I do like going in gi now, because I remember I was in New Jersey and I roll with some people in the gi, right? So I walk up to this class. And it's a gym that I like too, so I go into this class, gi class. I never roll gi. It's just like, before I came here, I rolled a few gi classes. So the coach is like, oh, who's this guy? We're just rolling right now. So it's like literally like showdown style, where he's like, you go with him. And like everybody sits around and like watches us roll, right?
What?
So I'm like, bet. So I fucking fuck up this one dude, right? So it's like, Johnny, you next, go with him. And I'm like, oh shit, like, all right, bet. So I'm like, bet. I'm literally this white belt. My fucking gi doesn't fit me. And I always talk about how I don't even look right in the gi. Like my body doesn't look right in the gi. So I hate it. So I'm like fixing my shit all stupid. It's the art of getting dressed and undressed. So I go with this other guy, smash this big dude. I think he's a higher, some belt, like a purple belt or some shit. Then I go with some dude that he's like, good guy. He's won a few tournaments and shit, like my level or some shit. And we like go, I don't sub him or anything, but we have a good round. So he's looking at me like, who the fuck is this guy? So we keep going up. Long story short, I go against his brown belt. I like keep going rounds with these people and leveling up till I get with the brown belt, mat enforcer or whatever, right? So I go all these rounds, and like I'm always in camp when I'm traveling too. So I'm usually like worn out. I always overtrain. So I'm usually never going full on with people when I grapple.
Yeah.
Like even when people go at me, like I'll let people win positions and just not get subbed and shit. But this guy was fucking me up in the gi, bro. Like I never felt like somebody grabbed every piece, and because I could usually just use my no-gi stuff, but when people notice that, like you can use certain tools, so that just showed me like I want to get my ass kicked more in the gi. And that's the moral out.
Yeah, you get totally fucking
I like getting my ass kicked. I like learning stuff. Like I got choked out by one of the bros, Josh, the other day. Like we're doing positional stuff, and I'm resisting. He's like, "Oh, I like all this MMA stuff, but I know this," and I'm like, "Oh shit, yeah, you're right."
Choke you with your
nice
fucking belt and shit.
Yeah, like high key, like just a collar, and I like learning new stuff too. Like I'm a student of this shit, so I genuinely like losing and getting my ass kicked and seeing what's possible, because that's how I learn. I love having something done to me, because I'm like, yo.
I could not agree more.
Like,
I could not agree more.
it.
If you can maintain that attitude, the dancing, smiling, singing attitude, honestly, I'm getting to the point, I mean this genuinely, where like I almost enjoy getting smashed more. If it's a bit, I do the weights more than me, higher belt, because like it's like lifting heavier weights.
Yeah.
And that's how you're gonna get fucking jacked. That's how you're gonna get stronger, is lifting heavier weights. Whereas if you're going with a white belt your size, or
you can smash.
I'm doing fairly well. If you're going to someone who you can smash, it's good, I guess, but it's like lifting low reps, high weight. It's like you're getting toned.
Yeah, you're staying the same.
So excuse me. High reps, low weight.
You're staying the same.
You're maintaining,
you're not progressing.
Yeah.
I talk about that all the time with like drilling partners and everything. Just how like you constantly got to be pushing yourself. Like I like to have all my rounds feel uncomfortable. One of the biggest reasons why I go to Matador now is even before I went there, like one of my bros, Chris London, before I even knew him, I was like, yo, tall, lanky guy, good striker, 6'3", longer reach than me. So I'm not going to have advantages against him. That's who I want to train with.
100%.
Like it was like that was a big part of why I made the trip, the changed there. Even now, we have a fucking 6'7" heavyweight from Paris that trains on our team, 270 pounds. And I'm trying to get my rounds with him, telling him to hit me harder because I want to be pushed. Because if I can face that type of animal and monster, those killers every day, then the cage is fucking easy. How can I not have fun in there? I didn't face the fire, you know? So, yeah.
It's one of the few motivating factors, well, not few, but like probably the primary motivating factor for wanting to get a higher belt, a blue belt, is so I have more autonomy and agency in my ability to choose my training partners. Because in gi class, it's super formal, right? You line up by rank, and the highest ranked person chooses first. And so I'm in the advanced class. Normally there's me, maybe one other white belt. So I'm always at the back. So I end up with the same fucking people every time. I want to be able to choose. So every now and then, Marco will reverse it. And he'll let the lowest ranked person go first. And so every now and then I get to choose first. And I fucking get, if Andrew's in there, the purple belt with the big beard, choose that guy. Eddie, the cop, who's like 300 fucking pounds, that guy's so fucking big, 6'8". I want those guys, you know?
Yeah,
anyway.
word.
Okay, so.
Nah, that's dope though. I like how, because I've seen that a few times where they'd be like, who do you choose? And it always catches me off guard. I'm like, oh. But I guess that's just what you do in the gi.
Yeah, the gi is formal, man.
And I love that. I fucking subbed a few black belts in the gi. Like my first or second class here, I was like, bro.
Dude, it gets. I don't know if I've subbed a black belt. Because it's a weird thing happens. That's impressive. First off, I should say, that is impressive, especially given the fact that you haven't trained ever. That's crazy. It's tough to. I'm not at that point. I'm getting there. It's tough to feel like, I don't know how much it's tough to kind of handle that. Sometimes the reaction, I feel like when your opponent recognizes they're getting to that point, a switch happens when they're like, oh, we're flow rolling. We're just in drill mode now.
That's a thing.
And it's like, oh, we weren't 30 seconds ago or whatever, or when we started. But it was cool. That's cool too. Honestly, that's what I want to handle. If that means that I get more high-level training partners, if that's how it's going to go, then I'll go. Like, that's cool. Because what's happening, I get left out, you know, so if that's how it's going to go, that's how it's going to go. But, yeah, it's interesting how to handle that from, like, a psychological, emotional perspective. You're not trying to disrespect anyone, right? But at the same time, it's like, I got to do my best here. I'm trying to get better. I
want to bring out that dog in you.
Right. And I'm trying to help you get better, too. It's I really reflect on this because you got to come from what your intention is. You got to come, I'm trying to do my best and get better, which is my number one priority here. Mm-hmm. If I have a number two priority, it's help my training partner get better. The path to both of those goals, in my opinion, is the same thing. I do my best.
Yeah, exactly.
I do my best, helps me get better. I do my best, forces you to react and get better. Yeah. If I'm half-assing it or like trying to protect your feelings, I'm not getting as good as I can, and I'm not letting you know where your skills are at either. And we're not here to, like, at the end of the day, we're not here to, like, we are here to make friends. I don't want to be a dick, but, like, that's not the number one reason we're here, right? It's like protect each other's feelings. We're here to learn jiu-jitsu and get better. So I got to show up and do my best, you know? Yeah. So, and
that's called getting good work.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah, and there is a thing, I will say, and like we were saying a little bit ago, there's a thing about spazziness, but I think that goes away if you're training consistently within a couple months. And do not think I'm at that point. I try to get feedback from my partners as well. Hey, was that, especially higher belts, was that cool? Is that cool? Was that spazzy? And getting consistent feedback that's done. It's like, okay, man, let's go and see where we end up. Okay, I want to
take on all comers.
Yeah, man. But that's the MMA.
I don't mind the spazzy. It just forces you to work your game differently.
That's the other thing, dude. I get it because you don't want people. It's crowded, man. You don't want people to get hurt. But yeah, that's the thing too.
Yeah,
I don't fucking
like fighting
mind.
a regular person on the street that you fight in your.
That's an interesting conversation too, because actually the two things I like most are the bigger, high rank guys, and then the next best thing is an athletic white belt coming in who thinks he's the man, and maybe he is.
Base and shit.
Yeah.
I love that.
That guy is actually the hardest. Yeah. Because they're going full clip. Yeah. They're going full clip. They are spazzy. That's honestly the best work. Yeah. That's the best work. That's the realest work. Is an athletic, bigger white belt who has some sort of either martial arts base or athletic base. I feel like that's who I was coming in, and that's the scariest. It's the best work, dude. Yeah. This dude's gonna go all out. He's not gonna be. So. Yeah.
I think that was my guy yesterday. I'm not gonna lie.
Your dude yesterday that?
Yeah.
Oh, was trying to leg lock you?
Yeah. It's a good time, especially when they're bigger than you and they expect to just be able to and shit.
Yeah.
And then two, I remember talking to a coach, Andy Main, this coach in Jersey, where I don't know. Sometimes, I think we were talking about it yesterday, where sometimes you know your coach is talking to you, but he's not talking to you. So he was just like, if you're better than someone, you should do your best to put yourself in uncomfortable positions and work yourself out of. Yeah. And like, if you let a lower belt tap you, then it's cool, you know, there's no ego, because it shouldn't be. In reality, it's like there shouldn't be ego with it, even though it is. I notice after I tap higher belt people, they turn up on me, which I kind of like. It's like they don't want that. But in reality, it should be this level of whatever. So I always do a good job of whenever I feel like I'm dominating a person, I immediately, like, I'm so quick to give up submissions, let people work out of submissions, like force them to get good work. You know what I'm saying? Even if I'm not giving my best, it's allowing me to do these things and I'm learning through them.
100%.
Yeah. So I don't force anything. I take what's available. Yeah, I genuinely think I'm a good training partner. So
I try to be, man. I try to be very conscious about that. I try to be super conscious about that, because that's what you want out of other people. So Alta is, you have 0 fights. It's a 20-week program. You knew from day one you're taking the fight at the end, because not everybody does, right?
Yeah, not everybody does.
Okay. So you knew from the jump you're going.
Yeah.
So how does that process go? Like, talk me through your emotions and like leading up to that. I would be so fucking nervous all the time. But it's interesting, your past, given what you've done to make money.
Yeah.
Prepares you for stressful living.
1,000%.
You're always living.
And then too, like, I didn't even tell you, like, I used to send out a lot of packages. Like, I used to be the pack guy, so you have to like package, get everything together, send it out, go there, be there, present a lot of the times, or put stuff together, be stressed about things getting to where they need to go and all that stuff. So it is so stressful, and that's one reason I hated it. Like, I remember the biggest thing I learned from Pablo Escobar, the narco shit, was how this motherfucker was always stressed. It was killing him.
That's how he's smoking weed all day long.
Running from everything all the time, no matter how much money you have. If you don't have peace, I was like, fuck all this shit. No matter how much money, how many gadgets and shit, trips, if I don't have peace, or like I have this different type of whatever, like, fighting is different. Like, I don't get scared, like, and I would just notice it in those weird moments. Like, I didn't even tell you too, I was talking to somebody about it earlier, how I remember when I got locked up in county, like, I had a situation where because Unlocked just came out on Netflix, I was talking some fucking jail shit. But long story short, I did somebody a favor, and they promised, I called his girl, I had my girl call his girl on 3-way to help, and he promised me his lunch that day. We didn't know what lunch was gonna be, but it was chicken day. And we know something about black people, a bunch of black people and shit. So it was serious. But this guy, he was like trying to be a blood or something at the time. So he had a bunch of big homies that would like take his food some days, or he would give it to. So when they found out it was chicken, and he told them that he was going to give it to somebody else already, they flipped out, and they came and like approached me and shit. I had this huge guy, 6'4", huge dude, and at the time when I got in trouble, I was still 135 pounds. This is before I started like really lifting, and even then I would get comments and compliments because I was always athletic, but I was small. And I just remember like not being scared, and for a long time I hated confrontation. Like, I didn't like confrontation when I was younger. Like, whenever I would get into arguments and shit, it would give me anxiety. Like, even this day, like, I'm a big energy guy, and I notice when I just can't handle energy. I just can't. I just can't. And when I was younger, it would fluster me. But now I'm so cool and calm with it, I just can just recognize it. It's different. So, man, I'll never forget, even that Saturday beforehand, I was like skateboarding and shit, and I was wearing my fucking Vibrams and shit, and I like did some stupid shit and like fucking crushed my toe, and my toe was fucked up, and I was like, I'm still going to Alta on Monday, baby. I'm like taping my shit up. They're wondering what's wrong with me before we even start. And man, I loved it. It was a huge group to start too. It was maybe like 20 people, big group, all different sizes. I had a pretty tough training partner at first who every day came with something to prove. I'll never forget the day he was like, it was fucking 4 days in and shit. I'm just trying to have a good time. Like I said, I was still working all these crazy hours. I was sleeping in the car just to make it, and to like make it here in time and do this shit. And he was like, you know, you got me in the grappling, and I think I got you in the striking. And I was like, bro, like, you're like really like sizing me up, trying me. And I thought he was gonna be my main training partner, but he ended up not staying. A lot of people ended up not staying.
What percentage do you think?
I just think maybe less than 50%.
Okay.
Maybe like it went from like 20 people to like 7 or 8 people.
Oh shit. Okay. And this is Monday through Friday at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
How many days a week were you showing up?
5 days a week.
5 days a week.
Yeah, every day.
Was that crew that ended up at the end? They're coming most days?
Yeah. Everybody that was there at the end were those people that came every day, and there were even some people that still came every day that didn't fight, but just like maybe it took some time off in between, or like just weren't ready or just had some life stuff pop up. So, but
how many people fought?
I think it was like 6 of us.
Well, and you fought on was it called Stars?
Spar Star. Yeah, which is like I would say like the second best amateur MMA shit out here in SoCal, so it was cool.
Was it no headgear or?
Yeah, no headgear. It was slightly bigger gloves. It was 8-ounce gloves.
8-ounce MMA gloves.
Regular amateur is 6-ounce.
Okay.
So that was different. Shin guards and shit, and yeah, it was fucking violence.
How'd that first fight go?
It was dope. I got a first round finish, rear naked choke, in I think a minute and like 13 seconds. It was super easy.
Was it an Alta guy?
Yeah, it was an Alta guy too. And that was the thing. They would set up people from different, because they had Alta programs at different gyms, so they would set you up with people from the programs at different gyms.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's tough to find matchups. So I had a guy that fought before already for Alta, and then they just brought him back. So it was, excuse me.
I'd be so nervous about that.
Fuck no. Like I said, I want the smoke.
Yep.
I love pushing myself.
Would you have fought a dude with 5 amateur fights?
Fuck yeah.
5-0?
Fuck yeah. I'm fighting some dude right now that has 7 fights. Like
I saw that. But the dude you're fighting right now this weekend, he hasn't fought in like 4 years.
But that's even more dangerous. That means he has even more experience at the same time and more time to get better. So like that doesn't, to me, like I like it because he might have like cage fight and that could be a problem, but at the end of the day it's like he's still training all this time, like training with good, like I know he trains at a good gym with, so I don't care. And at the same time too, doesn't matter how long or short you've been training, because I see that in myself. Like I ragdoll people that have been training longer than me or shorter than me, or it doesn't matter. Like it matters on the output, who you are. I remember even my 3rd fight when I lost to Reeves, the fight, I got kicked in the nuts. I feel like it was an early dumb stoppage. But he was way more experienced than me. Even Chief, the fight I got knocked out, he had a bunch of like underground fights before me and shit. So
was that your second fight?
Fights. Yeah, that was my second fight.
The second fight was in May, the one I went to.
Yeah,
the knockout.
Yep.
Okay.
The one I got clipped.
That dude was huge. Was he a different weight class?
Yeah, I was weighing 165 pounds. All right, so we'll go back.
Yeah.
So the first dude, he was a 170 pounder or whatever the fuck, and I walk around 165 pounds. Okay. So I'm like, whatever. I just wanna. I remember asking the Alta people too. Like, I always thought I was gonna do 55, and they wanted me to be. I remember we want you to be thick for 170. So I was like, all right, whatever. So me and the guy
said?
Yeah, literally word for word, and sus. But
we want you to be thick.
Yeah, like I guess healthy. I don't know.
Was it a steroid innuendo?
No, I don't think so. I just thick and healthy, like not too skinny. Gotcha. I don't know. So we go welterweight, and I weigh in because I'm like kind of bulking up, like 167 pounds. So I think he weighs in a little less than 170, and he's a 6'4" guy, and easy work. My grappling is so much better now, but it was just because I'm an athlete. It was, and the kung fu, I was just naturally good, sticky. I didn't think he was gonna grapple with me because I'm naturally lean. People think I'm not strong, but I'm way stronger than I am. So he engaged with me. I smiled at the coaches, and I get busy. I think I only hit him with like 3 strikes. His nose is bleeding. I go rear naked choke. So that was cool.
Drop him? How'd you get down on the ground?
Slam. I like took him into the cage, or he like attacked me in the cage. I reversal, pinned him up, hit him with like a knee or some shit, and then body slam. Then I like swam, trap, couple hits, rear naked choke, easy money. It's usually my game. But I wasn't satisfied. Like I wanted adversity. Like,
yeah, at this point you're doing Alta. Did you enter Alta thinking, I'm just going to do this one fight? Is this something, a journey I'm going to go on? We'll see what happens. What was your mindset?
No, I was ready to fight. I was going to see what I was capable of and then just keep going from there. Because like I said, I had kind of given up my job, and I was like, I think this could be fun. I had some savings, but still, it was like, this could be. I started to see how good I was in training and doing weird stuff, and how Edson had really taken a liking to me, and all this weird stuff. So yeah, I was like, I'm with it. So then we had lost Edson before our first fight, so that hurt us. I feel like that hurt a lot of other people that lost their fights. I always say if Edson was around, we would have had different results and shit. But anyway, after, we didn't have any coaches. So I was still trying to keep my momentum up and keep fighting.
That's when I met you.
Yeah.
That's right.
It was
and there's
light.
no coach really,
there was
right?
no coach. It was just us kind of running it and shit. Basically off of what Edson did, but just still, you still need a mentor. Just like you just need that direction. So
remember that dude that would pop in a couple times? I think he was there the day that you broke your hand. Was it like, I forget his name, Mike?
yeah, I didn't know exactly.
It was a scary dude.
Yeah.
What was it? I forget his name. He came in every now and then.
Yeah. I just saw him the other day too, but yeah, it was like he was supposed to come in and help and shit, but he didn't. And like that would have been nice. But then I ended up breaking my hand, like you said, and so that was annoying. But I was still set on fighting, so I just like got linked up with Up Next, and they were doing so much for their athletes, and I was like, whatever I do, I just got to get a fight with them. The momentum going.
This is Up Next Fighting.
Up Next
UNF,
Fighting,
which is where you've had 3 fights.
3 fights.
Your last
my
3
next
fights.
fight. Yep.
And it's a well-run regional promotion.
Definitely the best one in the area and almost the country, to be honest. Like one of the best like regional, definitely for amateurs.
They have pro fighters too, right?
Yeah, and they have pro cards that have awesome fighters. UFC, ex-UFC fighters, people that are on their way up, ultimate contender people. Like shit's awesome. So my hand was still broken and I wasn't telling them, but I was like still going to media day. I had an opponent. I was like, I'm gonna heal, whatever it takes. Fuck this hand. So I remember my opponent dropped out and we were gonna do 170 again. And I remember the matchmaker always asking me, but I figured 170 because I didn't want to lean up too much while my hand was broken. Like I wanted to kind of let that heal.
And you
like,
walk
stay.
around at 65.
Yeah, 165.
Okay.
So I was like, whatever. So
Is there a 65 division?
Nah, not yet, but they're talking about that in the UFC.
They gotta get that shit, man.
Yeah.
It makes no
That would
sense.
be nice.
65 and 95. Come on.
Yeah. So then my opponent drops out, and we're like fighting for another opponent, and we get this guy from a gym, and he agrees to 170. It's like 2 weeks out. No, maybe 3.5 weeks out from the fight night. So then 2 weeks out, he asked to come in 175. And I remember the matchmaker being like, yo, like, you don't have to do it. You could just say cool. Like, we already know, like, you're underweight, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Ryan, you could tell this motherfucker to come in 200 pounds. I don't give a fuck, Ryan. And at the time, like, I don't have a coach. I don't have anybody. Like, I'm just a dog with no leash and shit, right? So, worst decision, just because like I walk around 165, and yeah, that's a 10-pound difference to let somebody come in.
He's definitely a weight class bigger than you, maybe 2 weight classes.
Yeah, he cut from. I know the dude now too is a good guy. I remember that night he told me he walked in at least like 195 pounds, and I remember I weighed on the scale 167 pounds, and by the time I fought, I was 165 pounds again. So it was like a 30-pound difference.
Yeah.
But on top of all of that, I was still winning the fight. Like, I won the first round. I dominated. I felt like I got hit with some crazy illegal shots. So I was facing adversity. I hit him with a groin shot, so I was facing some adversity with that too. I felt like I was starting to get busy with my striking, and I felt like at the end of that first round, I felt it. I felt it easy. It was like, man, we're about to go to the ground, 2 minutes. And this is before I really pushed urgency. Because first fight, minute and some change. My last fight, minute and some change. The fight with Chief, I got him down in around a minute.
Chief was third fight?
Chief was the second fight.
Chief was second fight.
I got knocked out.
Colombian or something?
Yeah, the Colombian guy. But I took him down immediately. Like when we grappled, I took him down before I started hitting in the spine and shit. Bro was hitting me with, yo, you can't do 12 to 6 elbows. And you can't hit people in the spine. I'm getting mashed by this dude 30 pounds bigger than me in my spine, bro. Illegal elbows, like 4 or 5, like fucking hammer fists, yo. No part of your glove. And the ref's not doing anything, and the commentators and shit, when you hear the shit, they're like, he's got to watch out for those shits on the spine. He's got to watch out for that shits on the spine. It's like, so I genuinely, I'll never forget, remember being like, yo, at the end of that first round, like, yo, I don't feel okay, to Matt and Kevin. Like, they're like, what's wrong with you? I just remember being like, yo, I don't feel okay. And going in that second round, like, I was just, even looking at that tape, like, whatever 2-piece I threw or whatever, like, bouncing, I just wasn't there.
And that's when I got clipped. And it wasn't a crazy hard punch. It was, I don't want to say lucky, but, head down, whatever, retreating. And I got clipped. And I think I learned a lot because I like that because of what I made him feel that first round, I brought that out of him. So you have to be aware that this is a dangerous game and we're humans. Like, this shit brings out the crazy in us because it does it to me. So I have to expect that shit. It was nice. I don't want to say it was nice to get knocked out, but I got knocked out and I was like, yo, I almost won that shit. Fuck,
it's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, and it was like, yo, like, cool, I got knocked out and I'm good. Like, I still got to showcase a little bit. People know that he was way bigger than me. 9 times out of 10, I still win that fight, even if he's bigger than me. And the type of person I am, I'm like, bro, like, I've had so many good things happen to me. Like, what's the loss?
Yeah. Yeah. It shouldn't get more difficult than that.
Exactly.
At least one weight class down. Honestly, I think it was 2 weight class down. They're just so big, and then getting knocked out. That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
How did you feel like you responded to that psychologically? Because to me, that's my biggest fear. Straight up, I need much more skills to even consider doing MMA. But the biggest fear, when I think about it, is getting knocked out. That's the number one fear. How did you feel, literally physically, like right after that day of, and then physically, psychologically, the days and weeks after?
Yo, so when it happened, you don't even know. Like, I just remember, like, I was out for like a few seconds, and they put me on the chair and shit. And I was just like, I had no idea I got knocked out. I was like, holy shit, the fight. I remember it was just, it was just second round. Like, I guess I handled business.
You remember the break between rounds?
Yeah, and I was just like, I guess I handled business and shit. You know what I mean? I was like, I guess I handled business. And no, I just remember like, I just remember like, because before you fight and before you lose, there's just, you have no idea, like, you can't imagine yourself losing.
Yeah.
So like, I remember this was a problem too. I was thinking so far ahead. Like, I was thinking my victory speech and all this shit. Like, I wasn't being in the moment.
Yeah.
And then I slipped up by like wanting to bang with him after I was already winning and I had this thing lapse. So I just remember getting up and having this whole moment with him. I'll show you it after. We're like on the ground. He's checking on me if I'm okay. I'm like, I mean, you were there.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, you're a dog, dad. Thank you for taking the fight. Short notice. I'm like giving half my victory speech, bro. Like, literally, like what I was gonna say after I won. I swear to God. I like get up. I like raise his hand. Yo, like almost like I got up. I raise his hand. We walk around the fucking cage and shit, bro. And then we get there, so we start announcing it.
Do you
I'm
remember
like,
that?
Yeah, I remember this shit, bro. Yo, we're clapping. I'm like clapping. So, they line us up and shit. Ref gets in between and shit. They're like, and your winner by knockout, Chief. I was like, oh. I was like, what?
Wait, so legitimately up until that point?
Yeah, yo, Alex, I remember looking over at Matt immediately, and Matt's like, yeah, bro, like. And I'm like, yo, son, no. When did it happen? And I'll never forget, like, remembering.
You weren't in pain or anything?
No, I wasn't in pain. That shit was so and I remember, like, the moment when it happened in the fight, too, coming out, throwing that stupid-ass two-piece, and then him ducking his head because he did it earlier in the fight where he did it, and I just got an underhook like I normally do because that's when people shoot. Yeah. Because when people go for the shot, underhook, one side. Mm-hmm. So this was my bad read because he's not a grappler. He wasn't trying to do that. Mm-hmm. He was just ducking his head to do whatever. So I saw that in the second round. I remember I threw it. He ducked his head. And I remember being like, stupid motherfucker. And I remember, like, you see it. I have a screenshot of me, like, starting to do the same thing. Throw my left underhook. That's when the arm comes over and clips me. So I remember that moment, bro. And, yeah, it was tough, yo. I remember sitting in the locker room. Like, because it's tough to see people that see you, that think you're like fucking unstoppable, They see you, they think you're the best around. They see you excel. To see you lose and see what that does to them. Like I said, at the end of the day, I was like, man, I still almost won that shit. I should have still won. I made a mistake, And then seeing other people and other fighters, like I remember Alberto was so awesome, where he was just like, bro, you got clipped. You're winning the fight. Dude was bigger. Same thing. Like, I like to deal with reality. I don't like to overthink or like underthink. I like to like really assess. Like,
And I genuinely just felt like it was kind of a lucky punch.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't there from getting striked. I just, like, you can ask them. I just remember that day. But that's how life happens, Jay. Sometimes you need that, whatever. And I wanted adversity, Alex, and I got adversity. Bro, I was on, like, Haymakers on Instagram, highlight, knockout, Striker Force, million views and shit.
Really?
Yeah, it got big, man. And I didn't care. Like, people talking shit. All promo is good promo, so I liked it. I like some of the jokes and I like the bullshit. I don't take myself too serious at all. But it made me hungry. And I remember my dad being like, you didn't prepare some shit. And I guess at the end of the day, that shit hurt me more than anything.
Do you feel that was true? You didn't prepare enough?
I just think that at that time, I was living too good. Okay. I didn't have a coach. I just broke my hand, so I wasn't doing everything I could have done, like, in that moment. I just didn't know.
You were only training here, right?
Yeah. I had no idea. And then it wasn't a group to really train me with. I remember that week, too, my bro George wasn't here. Like, it's just...
Big George?
Yeah, like, you just can't make life up the way things happen. And you don't expect things to happen, but they just do.
Yeah, man, I remember leaving that fight, and I never had an experience like that in my life. That's the first fight I've ever been to in my life, I think.
That's dope.
I've been to 2 Bellator events, but I think I was the first one I've ever been to.
That's
I was
dope.
shocked, first off, how professional it was.
Same.
Secondly, as soon as your fight starts, I'm like, why the fuck did I come here? I love fights. I watch fights every night. I love UFC. I love sports, and I love the sport more than any sport I've ever loved. Watching a friend fight is the worst fucking experience in the world.
Real.
It was like, get me the fuck out of here.
agree.
And then you lost. I've never had an experience like that in my life. And when I remember leaving, and the girl I was with at the time driving home, and being like, I just started martial arts. I barely knew you guys, but I wanted to call you up and say, like, dude, you need more. You need to change. If you need to, I know you're into this. I can see you're talented. I genuinely thought, even though I saw that dude walk out, not how big he was, I thought you were gonna win.
Yeah, I still should have won. It sucks.
And then when you started, I was like, okay, we got this. I was so fucking nervous, but I was like, okay, we got this. And then second round, same thing. You came out second round and you looked, I was like, what's wrong? Second round, you could tell before you got knocked out, something was off. Something was off. But I knew the environment, not that I love this place, but I'd trained with you for, like, I don't know, a month or 6 weeks or something, not that long, but I knew, based on what I'd seen from that dude, I was like, this needed to change. But I didn't feel like it was my place to say anything. But you made the change anyway.
And that's what exactly I did. It was like, yo,
you just need to be around other people that are doing the same shit. Here, you can't be you don't want to, I don't think you want to be the top dog.
Never. You never want to be the big fish.
That's like just what you're saying, going back to training jiu-jitsu. You don't want to be training with
big fish in a pond. And I used to want to do it with Matt, but
it was just you and Matt.
I remember that time too, where I only took that fight short notice because I was gonna wait till June to fight with Matt because I wanted to fight on the same, have a team. And then he kept having stuff go on with when he was gonna fight. So the only reason why I took it in May, I was like, I'll do May and then we'll do July together. So it just wasn't smart at all, and like you said, I wasn't mentally prepared for
especially with the hand, not really having a camp or a team. Dude, it is huge balls to do it.
Alex, those lights hit you and you're like, what the fuck? Then that night too, the ambulance thing, right? Because the dude got knocked out early, so we fought so late, bro. Like there were
a few things going on that night that some of them I don't really want to talk about, but there were other things going on that night that you and I have talked about as well. That was just like, dude, that was the Dex Tag gets you. In a way, it might have been it's for the best, right? Because it's like it can't get worse than this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And so all of that made a lot of sense to me too. So it's like I need people that care about me while I'm out there. So I remember just being like, all right, I just gave up my life. I remember like I started moving across country for my birthday. I was turning 34, and I was talking to my dad. I was like, Mom, can you watch my dogs for a little bit? I've scheduled for another fight in July. I just want to train, get different looks. I need to train at different gyms, whatever the fuck. I still didn't know where a home would be out here.
Did you think it was a good idea to take another fight in July? That was my other big thing, because I think you had told me before that you were hoping to fight in July after the May fight. And I think
I remember. I think I knew that driving home and talking to that girl and being like, I want to talk to him and tell him not to take that fight in July. That's too soon.
It was too soon because I got knocked out. But then before that, before I left to go back home, I remember sparring with people and people not realizing like, bro, I just got knocked out. Like
People are going at you.
yeah, bro.
Dude, you gotta be smart about that.
2
shit.
weeks after my fight, bro, we're doing like sparring and shit because they know I have a fight in July, and people are like hitting me, and I remember getting like rocked again 2 weeks after that fight. So I remember being like, fuck. So then I go across the country to New Jersey, and I'm training at different gyms, and people are sparring. People could just see the fighter gear. People are coming at me. So I remember getting clipped one more time by this other dude who's a fighter out there, who I don't want to say I don't like, but I remember that day after he clocked me one time too hard. I just remember letting him know what's up. But he hit me one time and he rocked me with a nice right hand. I remember like being before the fight, like, fuck, this is not what you want. Like I actually am kind of concussed, you know, like it's something I got to worry about. So I just knew I was still going to fight because I'm crazy. But
Real quick, going forward, you got to figure out a way to handle that, though, right? Like in terms of communication with your sparring partners, or not spar. Shouldn't be sparring. If you get knocked out, you shouldn't be sparring.
Yeah,
you should be sparring for 2 months.
So this comes back later for sure. So I was like, I'm just gonna change my approach and just grapple him, like not give him any free strikes and shit, like just not get hit and be smart. Cause I'm already good at my grappling and shit anyway. Even though he was a wrestler and shit, this is what I was thinking at the time. I'm gonna grapple him.
This is for the third fight.
Yes, for the third fight. So
I'm sorry, you said he is a grappler?
he is a grappler, ex-wrestler and shit. And I knew he was gonna grapple me, but I was
This dude
like,
is your size. I feel
yeah,
like.
he was a little bit bigger than me, but he was like an ex-Marine and shit. He was a built guy.
Yeah.
But this is finally at 155, so I was working my way down and shit. And it was a good way in and all that shit. So, this motherfucker.
Did you switch to Matador in the lead up to that
Not
fight?
yet.
You were
I was
just
training.
still here.
I was training in New Jersey.
Okay. Oh shit.
I was training in New Jersey. So I came back right after my birthday, June 5th. I came back like June 17th, and my fight was July 1st. So I trained out there for like 3 weeks with some guys and got some really good work. That's when I got to see real gyms, real coaches. I trained with this guy, Tiago, who used to train with Daniel Cormier and trained with Islam back in the day and shit, kickboxer, because I needed to work on my striking. So I did all that. I came back the end of June. I started training, started cutting here, my first real time. I go into that, still concussed and shit like a fucking idiot. And yeah, he starts grappling me the first round. I finally felt like it felt normal being there. Like that fucking day, it just felt good. I remember just dancing, coming out, singing a song, playing all the hate and shit from getting knocked out before. And I remember it starting and him starting to grapple me. So a lot of people do, they come out and they're like, and he's a bigger guy, you know, I look slim. So he thought he was just gonna like dominate me. And I love that because I let people do their thing. So he comes out, has his little onslaught, he tries to take me down, gets one strike in, then I like cover. And then once I get that feel, I get up, get my whizzer, start throwing some strikes and shit. I remember him trying to pressure me up against the cage, but the whole time I'm like putting my weight on him, still getting some strikes in. I feel like I ended the round, even though he took me down again and I was trying to work some of my jiu-jitsu, I feel like I felt him. Like I just was like, bro, like this guy doesn't have anything. I trained with killers. Like, well, I didn't train with killers yet, but I had just came back from training with some killers. So I was like, nah, I'm better than this now. I've seen this. So I remember the round ended. He was on top. He couldn't really get any strikes and shit. I was just fucking bullshitting. So end of the round, I felt good. I was like, yeah, this next round I got him. So second round we go out and I immediately start pressing. I start landing some strikes. I get him on the cage. His coach is there coaching him like a good coach would do, telling him what to do. I'm stopping it. He can't press me on the cage. I end up start pressuring him, hitting him with some extra shots. I get him on the cage. He tries to take me down. I stuff this takedown, which is beautiful. So I'm like getting my momentum. The commentators, Khalil's doing better round, winning the round. I remember hitting him with something and then closing him in, starting to work my cage distance. And I come in and I throw a jab, and he throws some dumbass bullshit kick, and it hits me in my nuts. And I have on a cup, but the way he hits me, like sometimes you still get hit. So I remember getting hit. I like grimace. I look over at the ref and I'm like, cup. And the ref doesn't say anything because he was like behind me. So he says, cup. The guy realizes it. fucking pussy, the guy Reese. He realized it because I had got the momentum. He realizes that something happened to me. So he starts pressing me. So I'm like loopy, kind of like trying to get my legs back. I throw a kick and shit, blah, blah. He comes in, he hits me, and my legs start wobbling for a second. But I'm still there. So we keep exchanging. I wobble him for a second. We're on the cage. I try to slip. He hits me again. I'm wobbling and shit. He comes up. He like starts trying to hit me in the back of the head while I'm covering. Then the ref stops it. And I'm like, I look up and I'm like, ref, what? And he's like, oh, your legs weren't under you. And I'm immediately like, bro, I just got hit in the nuts, bro. Like, so that really pissed me off.
It was a very weird stoppage. You guys definitely were exchanging, and you both seemed like you got caught. At the moment it got stopped, you were in, from what I remember,
I was
the
like
worst
down here
position. But you weren't.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely weren't out. You were both standing on the fence. It was it seemed to me like a very, like amateur stoppages are a lot quicker. It seemed like quick even for amateur.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously I'm honestly, I think I'm saying that objectively. I was shocked when it got stopped.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
I thought maybe something had happened that I didn't realize, or something you had, your knee had gone out or something.
It was just because of my legs, but I was like, brother, I just got hit in the nuts. And I remember after, because George was in my corner this time, him being like, yeah, I saw that. But I'm like, fuck, I need people to scream that shit for me when it happens. Like, learning lessons, bro. Like, even with the elbows with Chief, like, you can't be like, after I saw that shit, like, I need you to be screaming that shit when it's happening in the cage. To the ref? Yeah. Like, as a coach, ref, he's just holding him down. Ref, that was a nut shot. Ref, he's holding his glove. Like, because they can see, bro. Like, you can't just let shit happen. So that was another learning lesson, because I was like, bro, I really got kicked in the nuts. Like, I'm not bullshitting.
It goes back to where you're training. You can't blame corner for that. I mean, who you're training with are not pretty novice dudes, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I learned. It was like, yo, I just need real coaches. And that's when it really hit. It was like, all right, so now I'm really willing to do whatever it took. And that's when I moved out of my crib in August.
In LA.
I think I went back to New Jersey for a second, and then I found a sublease or some shit in Glendale, and I gave it up. My dogs are already with my mom, so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna be able to train. Fuck it. I was talking to Matador, the dude Chief that I got knocked out by. He had been inviting me to come train forever.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, bet, that's right by Legacy. It makes sense. It's something that I could do right now that makes sense. So I remember trying to come to Glendale and my sublease like falling through at the last minute, and I have a record, so it's just a little weird sometimes getting it, even though it's for cannabis, it's just a process and shit. And like I said, I wasn't working, so some of my original teammates, they were like, oh, yo, like, don't stress yourself. I was looking at places really far. I was gonna have to do crazy commutes after that shit fell through, so they let me like stay there, which was like a few miles away from Legacy and a few miles away from the new gym Matador, and that shit just changed everything. Like, I was able to get to Legacy fast. The Matador, I was able to start riding my bike to Matador. I started attending classes. The commute from downtown to Burbank was tough for a period of time, like trying to do double days. Like, I wasn't able to get as much work in before as I was able to now. And when I went to the East Coast, I just saw how much these guys train. Like, you can't just have an hour class, a 2-hour class. You got to be training fucking 4 or 5 hours a day. And that's when I just adapted that, and I've just been doing that like crazy ever since. Like, listening to my body, just pushing, just doing, literally leaving no stone unturned. Like, that's been a big thing for me, like everything. And then this last camp, it was big because it was about diet. Like, I was supposed to have a fight in December, and like I was saying earlier, like I started like talking to women again. So I remember like when I didn't get the fight in December, and I had been out here like struggling in Burbank, like working hard for that.
When was the third fight?
The third fight was July 2013.
Okay.
And then I came back in August, September. Then I was trying to fight in December after, because I remember the coach Marcos at Matador was like, we need 8 weeks together before you have a fight.
Right.
So I remember I came back and I was like, all right, we're going to do our 8 weeks. So we did 8 weeks, and it was supposed to be fighting in December, but we had some other guys fighting, and my fight fell through, so I didn't get to fight. And that fucked me up, because I've given up so much already, and like timing is so important, and funds dwindle, you know what I'm saying? And I just wasn't in the best shape. So that's when I hired the dietitian for this last camp. It was important to me. I knew her beforehand, and we had been talking about it before. She's from New Jersey. She, went to the U, or she worked at the U. She, just a good person, yo. So she really helped me out and like changed my whole diet, my whole regimen, and it changed my whole camp. She says easy cut, easy fight. And that's the way I felt. Like, the cut was easy. Like, I didn't even have to overkill myself. I learned so many things, not only about myself, my body, but just how much shit people don't know and how many things people do wrong. Mm-hmm. Like, I just see now, since then, I just see everyone compete, do so many things wrong for their cut. Mm-hmm. And then when they lose or things don't go their way and shit, I'm like, not surprised. So, like, just learning, yeah. Like, she worked with people in the UFC. She worked at the UFC. She's worked with people like all these UFC cards, and just seeing how the pros do it. And it's not safe what we do at all, but seeing the safest way and the ways that work and these little cues, I feel like made a huge difference. So I feel like that shit showed in the fight. My guy came in overweight, 5 pounds over and shit. I finally make weight. I'm still fighting at 155 same day. I'm a true 145er. I'm trying to get to 145. I'm doing my best.
That's the goal.
Yeah, 145. Easily I'm a 145er. People have known that. But same day 155 is better just because I'm not.
Oh, it's same day? Is it always same day?
Nah, just more amateur fights. Okay. My third fight wasn't same day, and I loved it. But that was
same
55.
day would mean when you weigh in. So typically,
I weigh in Saturday.
Like the UFC, you weigh in Friday before the Saturday fight, and this is the weighing in the day of which, in theory, is trying to promote less weight cutting because you have less time to recover. Exactly. So in theory, fighters will cut less weight.
Exactly. But sometimes they have pro AMs that have pros and amateurs that we do the day before cuts, and I love those. That's what I would normally want to do. But this one is 150 at same day. But if I was to do day before weigh-ins, it's 145. And at pro, I'm going to be 145. But yeah, it felt good to cut. Like, that shit is good for you to do. It's important. It's important not to be not to be overeating or not able to train as much because you have to overeat and stuff. So yeah, man, it was awesome. I fucked up my finger before the fight.
Yeah, didn't you fuck it up like the day, the day of or something?
Yeah, I dislocated one of them really bad. My bad. Give me 1 second.
Oh, you got a phone thing to do.
I dislocated one of them really bad rolling, right? Grappling and shit. MMA grappling. And I just remember landing on it really crazy, taking down my big bro George, and it landing and the finger literally like going from here to here.
Oh, like a 90 degrees.
Yeah, 90 degrees. So I'm like, oh shit.
Your middle finger. And
my middle finger, my right hand. So I'm like, all right, fuck. So
this is the day of the fight?
Nah, this is like 3 weeks before the fight. So I'm like, oh shit. So I'm like, boop. And I'm like, all right, let's get back to training and shit.
What?
Like a fucking idiot. And they're like, no, stop. So I don't train that day. But the next day.
Did you go to the doctor?
No, I didn't go to the doctor. I immediately get right back to training because I have a fight in 3 weeks. So I'm like, fuck it, just a finger. So.
Yeah, but on your right hand, middle finger on your right hand, you're right-handed? Okay.
Right-handed. So I'm like, fuck it, whatever.
Pretty important.
Yeah, pretty important, but whatever. I got to fight in 2 weeks. I have to fight. I can't back out. I missed December. I can't.
Yeah.
If I keep backing out, I'll never fight again.
This fight was January 27th?
Yeah, January 27th. So then the day of, I go to do my shakeout. I had just finished cutting, and it's like 4:30. And my coach is in there. I get there a little bit late to do the shakedown, basically warm up before we go to the wherever to fight at. And I'm training with one of my bros who's a Muay Thai guy, Chris. He's a good guy. And we're drilling, and I don't know, something happens where we're drilling some wall work, and I just slip or I miss where I'm supposed to grab, and then I jam my left middle finger into the wall we have there. And this shit goes from like middle finger size to like pinky size. Like the shit like shrinks in. It's like this shit buckles over, and it looks so crazy. Like I look like the dude from Scary Movie with the little hand and shit. Like so
it's both hands.
Yeah, so now it's both hands, and this one like I can't even bend. Like this shit looked crazy.
The middle finger on both hands.
Middle finger on both hands. This shit looked crazy, Alex.
Severely compromised.
So I'm like, I guess I could still slap him. Like, but we're like, I can't make a fist. What can we do? So we start trying to pull it out. So I'm like, I can't pull it. We're like, fuck. And then we got a masseuse at the fucking gym, and he grabs a fucking towel. He comes, he fucking pulls that shit and puts that shit right back in place. And then I'm able to make a fucking fist.
No.
And it's like, all right, we gotta fucking go right now to this shit. We laugh about it for a minute and
let's get out of here before something else happens.
Yeah, like, and then we go to the fight shit. And then like we get there, we're late. And I was underweight, so I'm like eating. I ordered food to the gym too before we left. So I like have this fucked up finger. I'm trying to eat Mediterranean food and shit. And at the same time, I'm always so positive because, like I said, easy cut, all that shit. Like the cut was so easy. I was still in a good mood. Like,
yeah.
Even though it's same day, like after you start to eat again, you're fucking happy. You know. So yeah, shit made it more of an experience, I guess. You know, like stories to tell on top of your tail and shit. Even though you don't want that. And one thing I did learn from one of the guys in New Jersey is when I lost to Chief, he was like, yo, like, we're already tough. Like, we already know that you're tough by fighting in the cage. You don't have to fucking add stipulation and shit, tie your arm behind your back, fight somebody bigger than you.
Yeah, dude, you're fighting MMA, bro.
Yeah, yo. And that's the point where I was at, where I was like, yeah, fuck a bigger guy. Ego. We all go through our shit, you know? And it was just because I was capable of training with people and doing that, and I still am, doesn't mean I should ever put myself in a situation where I could let that 1 out of 10 time happen. So
sparring after getting knocked out and shit, it's the mindset you need to step into the cage, right? This I don't give a fuck attitude. But you need to harness that when it comes to the long-term success of your career or of your life. You know, have that mindset fueling you, but you got to harness it in terms of actual practical decision making, especially with regards to career and shaking fights and opponents and X, Y, and Z. Yeah, you got to be
smart and have the right people around you.
Yes,
because the thing
that's
is,
the big thing too. Because that's your job. Your job is to be that guy.
Say yes to everyone.
That's and you should. Yeah. That's the mentality you need. You need someone around you to be like,
I won't say fighters because I'm seeing that a lot of fighters are pussy, but yeah, a lot of us, we will take every fight and we need somebody to tell us no.
Yeah.
We need somebody to tell us no.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. Somebody
100%.
we respect to tell us no.
100%. I got to pick up these girls in a minute, but the third fight, you get the W. Do you want to talk us through that real quick? Or do you want to do another hour tomorrow? Or
no, I can talk you through fourth fight. I get a dub. I felt disrespected, man. You know, coming off 2 losses, I'm so good, but sometimes our records don't show how good we are. So the same thing with this guy where I think he had a few losses, but he had like 10 years wrestling experience, blah, blah, blah. So they thought it was going to be a good matchup. That's what they do. The matchmakers, they make good fights and shit. So
do you feel like UNF does a good job of doing that they're trying to match dudes at similar points? Or do you get a feeling ever that they're trying to make lopsided matches? Like,
I think they do a great job at trying to get even matches, even though sometimes you never know. But I do think that sometimes people sneak through because of politics and they get easy fights.
Yeah.
Easier fights, very favorable fights.
Are there dudes that you feel like in the organization that like are like hot names or something, dudes that they're particularly trying to push? Or is it to the point where they're just like, they just need fighters?
More so the pros and the people that come from certain gyms, so the politics. I don't want to drop any names, but they're definitely politics.
Certain
and
gyms.
everything is off potential. Like, they base potential on these younger guys because they think one day they're going to be good enough to do this, but in reality, a lot of them aren't even good now, so it's like they're banking on that shit.
Yeah.
But so they were like, yo, it's gonna be even matchup. We think you guys are like fucking this. And I felt disrespected. My coach, I thought I was gonna be in the blue corner, which is the the
second walk?
Yeah. No, it's the first walk. So that's the underdog.
Yeah. You thought you were gonna be the underdog.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be the underdog, so that would have been the first walk.
Right.
Yeah, so I was fucking pissed. I just felt like, I did lose, but it was just something that hit a nerve, even matchup, all this shit. So I knew I wanted to prove a point, yo.
And this is the first full camp with Matador.
First full camp at Matador.
Weeks?
I had more than that. I actually had maybe like 16 weeks because I was supposed to fight in December where we did 8 weeks, but it was a camp. I basically was there for my teammate, and I had another 8 weeks to prepare. So 16 weeks, and yeah, it was awesome. I got so much better during that time, and yeah, I felt like it was like we had a game plan. Like they know how good I am in my grappling and shit, especially with the fingers. We worked on stuff, and yeah, it just felt like another day at the office. And I feel like that's when you're feeling like that, that's when you know it's something that you should be doing or you can possibly be doing further in life. So I just remember coming out. He missed weight earlier. Like he didn't do the face off with me. I just feel like I had all these like wins built up for the day. But
what do you feel about a dude not missing weight? Potentially that means that they're less compromised coming into the fight, right? Like
yeah,
he didn't have to do a cut. He could be in a
and
lot
he's
better
stronger.
shape. Yeah.
Like they just
How
hit
much did he miss
heavier.
weight by?
5 pounds.
Fuck!
Yeah.
That's up another weight class.
But then
like the UFC, for those who don't know, that wouldn't
I sat
fly.
there and I told him that I made them make him like cut 1.5 pounds or 2 pounds to like meet me at 158 during the day. So they like made him sit there and try to make 158. I don't think they.
Right.
Whatever. But yeah, it was just.
So he came in at 160?
Yeah, he walked in there at 160 thinking that he was gonna fly. And then he missed weight, and then it was
Same day.
Yeah, same day, and I was 156.
So what happens? He misses weight by 5 pounds and they have to come to you, but that's cool.
I can accept it, or I can try to find a middle ground. So I found the middle ground at 158. So he stayed there for a while to cut or whatever. Sitting in the car or something. I don't know. I didn't see it happen, but whatever. He was able to fight. And yeah, long story short, I just knew I wanted to fucking prove a point. I had a lot of stuff going on at the gym at the time. Fucking girl stuff, life stuff. You know, a lot of people invest in me, and I got to perform, you know? So I don't have time to fuck around. So put it on the kid. Easy money. That's what I do every fucking day. So it literally was nothing new. I wasn't surprised. I always talk about urgency. I get a lot of finishes in the gym around a minute. I'm always pushing under a minute, but I usually get them, like I'm usually locking up my shits or whatever's happening around a minute and some change. So something I need to get better on because I want to get quicker finishes, but easy fucking money. You know, I had one of my bros, I got warmed up really well. One of my bros that's on my team told me to make sure I set up my grappling with a good strike. Made sure I got a good strike in there, wobbling or chin up for a second, got my underhooks secured. The cage has give, so quick bounce, boom, up. That's kung fu, going with momentum. And then a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, I train a lot of jiu-jitsu guys here because it's legacy. They come to MMA and they think that they're gonna fucking be pulling off like crazy submissions and shit. And it's easier because we have gloves and you can kind of hold on to gloves, but once you start getting hit, man, that shit changes fucking everything. So I do a lot of ground and pound. I don't care about your guard. I don't care about none of that shit. I'm hitting you, especially because I have long arms and I can, like, my weight distribution is good, so it was so easy. Like, he semi tried to jump guard. He wasn't defending. He wasn't doing feet on hips. He literally was in no man's land. So there was a point, you know, he was trying to grab on and hold on, but that's easy for me. And just ground and pound, the hammer fists were there. I do feel like I wrapped my gloves super tight because I was worried about my fingers. So I feel like that's what was kind of fucking me up. I wasn't able to like really get like my ground and pound to finish him because
like you weren't able to make a full fist.
Yeah, I wasn't able to make a full fist, but on purpose too because of all the padding and shit. So I feel like that fucked up the finish because I want a KO, like fuck a TKO, and I want blood, bro. Like I want fucking mayhem. But I just had this dude like literally like squealing for his like feet in the air. The ref could see he had no transition. He was trying to hold on. And then I remember getting to a point where sometimes like you do some of those strikes just to make people transition and move. Like I wasn't even trying to like put him out at first, but then when I realized that I could get tired doing this. Like after doing that ground and pound, I just remember grabbing his hip and his bum and being like, yeah, we're gonna finish it right now. And that just comes up with not trying to force things and taking what's available to you, which is something you push. And when you start to do that as a fighter and a grappler and stuff, like that's when you know you're really doing something. You're not forcing shit. So just took what was available to me. Easy win, first round.
What was the ruling? There wasn't TKO?
It was a TKO, but it wasn't a KO.
Right,
I wanted
I got
a KO, bro. KO of the night, bro. What the fuck? I was so mad when they were like doing the awards, and it was like no KO of the night. I was like, I literally like almost like broke something. I was like, fuck, I'm so stupid.
No, dude. So you have 2 wins or 2 first round finishes?
2 first round finishes.
Yes.
And I've never seen a third round. I've never seen the judges. I don't
promotions like that shit.
I know it's like kill or be killed, and now I'm like at my right weight class, so I'm like fighting. I'm so much better.
Is this net? Wait, so
It's
Saturday
150, but it's featherweight.
150.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's featherweight still, just because it's same day. It's
Right.
150, just to be safe. And I feel like he fights a little bit lighter than I have in the past, and I fought bigger guys. So I think that'll play to my advantage. The guy is good. He does, like I said, he comes from a good gym. I want to be tested. My coach thought everybody thought the last one was going to be a test for me. They think this one's going to be a test for me, and I'm going to continue to keep showing that it's not. Mm-hmm. You feel me? Like,
yeah.
Like really, just
Have you watched tape on this guy?
I got a little bit of tape, but all of his fights were in the past.
Yeah, he hasn't fought in like 4 years, right?
Yeah, so like a lot of
Before
the promotions. COVID. Yeah, a lot of the IE guys. It might have been something in IE going on.
IE is Inland Empire out. This fight's in San Bernardino, so it's out like on your way to the desert in east of LA.
Yeah,
hour east.
Weird out there, but
it's weird out there, dude. But fucking like mountain or like desert people.
Yeah, so it's a lot of them without fucking film, and but I kind of like that. I like. I could make my page private and do that stuff, but I like people to see what I'm made of. I like people to see my film.
Hell yeah.
And I go into sparring, and after you start doing cross training, and you walk into places and you have no idea what to expect.
Yeah.
You don't know what training partners who you're going to spar, whatever the fuck. And you're just able to adapt to every person. You feel comfortable going with any person, any night, not knowing anything or whatever. And yeah, I feel confident. I feel like whatever he gives at me, I'm gonna fuck him up.
Have there been any major differences in this camp versus last camp? The January fight was 16-week camp. How long is this?
16 week. It's been shorter. I was gonna do a quick return in February, so I was gonna fight. Even my fingers fucked up. Just fight again the next month, and I had an opponent, but he backed out like 2 days before because he was a bitch. So it was like I had 4 weeks. Then February to March, I was still looking to fight at the end of March where the Legacy guys fought. And then when I found out that didn't happen, I decided to take. I got sick, and then I took a week and a half off to let my fingers actually heal. Because as I was continuously training, you don't let them heal. You know. So I actually took a week off. I was sick for a week, and it's been another 3 weeks on of training. So less than maybe 10 weeks, or 9-10 weeks this camp, which is good. 8 weeks is what we need. I feel like we already have our rapport. We know our game plan. They see that they can trust me. Building your coach's trust is everything. So it's been everything.
How do you feel weight-wise?
Weight-wise, I'm good. I'm on point with my dietitian where I needed to be a certain weight today and switch my diet so I make a certain weight before I start cutting water. So we cut water Friday night. Saturday morning, that's when we're going to do our final weight cut instead of doing it the night before. So I make sure I get good sleep Friday night. Just little details that make a huge...
That to me is always so big. That night before. How do you sleep that night before? Especially if you're cutting weight. How the fuck do you sleep that night before? It's so crazy.
And also you want to make it the shortest window possible. If you're doing that, you don't want to put your body in that state for long periods of time. And that's why when people start cutting too early, they start doing that to themselves. So then they start hard cutting, they fuck themselves up. They're not even able to sweat and all that stuff. So
what time is weigh-in on Saturday?
10 a.m.
So you're going to cut that morning?
Cut that morning, 6 a.m.
In the sauna?
Sauna, depending on how... I'm definitely going to need a sauna. So cut that morning and, chill for a little bit, let my body cool down, and then 10 a.m.
What has this, this... I just want one more question. I have a ton of questions, but I just want to kind of wrap it up with... what's been the regimen during this camp? Is it 2 days? Is it morning, afternoon? What's the protocol? What's the schedule?
So, like I said, I started seeing how you have to train a lot. And then when you see people that aren't even fighters train for 3-4 hours a day, it changes how you approach this shit. So I like to train at least 3 times a day. It gets up to 5-6 times a day. 5-6 hours a day. So sometimes it's usually hourly sessions where I do different things within those hours. So when I'm going, it's usually 4 to 6 times sessions a day. And just being able to do that.
MMA, jiu-jitsu?
MMA, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, boxing, nogi, sometimes.
Does Matador have a specific jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, they have nogi jiu-jitsu, not other jiu-jitsu. We're opening a new gym where we're going to have New Ground Jiu-Jitsu, which is another gym, which is Nogi Jiu-Jitsu gym. They're going to join our gym, so it's going to be Nogi, where you can still level up and all that shit, which is dope.
So you're training with the public, quote unquote, in some classes, and then sometimes you're training MMA specifically with other fighters.
Yeah.
Okay.
And usually the other classes, the other fighters still come too, so we get other work in, we get our specific work. We have other sparring days and shit, which is dope. We got a lot of guys fighting now too, which is cool. So, and it's been nice to see like everyone get better, because usually you want people to start at that gym, you know. So seeing a lot of the younger guys become like homegrown Matador, which is cool, you know.
Dope, dude. I'm excited. I just talked to. I'm doing this jiu-jitsu tournament Saturday. I just talked to the manager of both the tournament, and I'm gonna be able to. Looks like we'll be able to make it out there in time. I'm fucking excited. I love living vicariously through you, man. And I admire you so much doing this shit. You and Matt and even Ellen doing her one fight. It's like that's the reason I wanted to start talking to y'all first. People that have had the courage to step into the cage, and then someone like you and Matt who are doing this shit repeatedly trying to get better, repeatedly. Picking yourself up after setbacks. This shit is like so inspiring to me. It's fascinating to me, man. I'm still feel so fortunate having gotten obsessed with UFC and this sport to now actually know actual fighters and to chop it up with them for hours at a time. It's been a fucking pleasure, man. So thank you for doing this. I'm sure it won't be the last time you're on this. I want to start doing previews like we were saying on Saturday. Or start doing like UFC previews or some shit. I didn't know you were in the betting and all that shit. So this will not be the last time you're on here. I know that for sure. You could probably
bid some money to this podcast too.
Yeah.
I'll get some bankrolls.
Real quick, just last question. I do got to go, but I'll just... There'll be tons of things I want to ask you in the future. But do you want to stick? Are you starting to think that maybe beyond fighting, you'll stick in martial arts professionally? I think on Sunday, after we recorded the first interview, the Sunday after UFC 300, I just stopped by. We were planning on doing part 2 on Sunday. We ended up pushing off till Monday. But I sat in there with you during sparring, MMA sparring, and the way you coach, I was like, oh, this dude's a great fucking coach. You got a great voice for coaching, great eye for coaching, and having only been in the game, so to speak, for 4 years, you know, it's like you have so much more to learn, too, that you're going to be able to share with other people. Like, you have a natural coach, and you come from athletic background.
Really quick, I learned a lot from watching UFC, hearing DC, hearing those guys talk. So yeah, it's funny. I get into a lot of situations where I help a lot of people. Like I feel like I'm a good training partner and a good teammate.
Yeah.
I have a good eye. Like you said, the voice helps. People say they recognize my voice. And yeah, I feel like I'm genuinely able to give people tips in the right moment. So I do think I can help and be an awesome coach. I don't know if I'm going to be the best pad holder. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm starting to open that up, but I would love to start coaching the right people in the right time. So
yeah, man. No, you can feel that you have a genuine concern and interest in other people getting better, man. And not everyone does. So yeah. All right, brother. Let's wrap it up. We're going to get here for wrestling practice.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you, man. We're going to get back to this shit after the fight, do a little, like, fucking celebration for both our wins and shit.
For sure, brother. All right, man. Thank you, dog.